there was another.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Santa Fe Public School Board of Education meeting of April 10th, 2025 at approximately 5:31 p.m. We'll start with our pledge allegiance and salute to the New Mexico flag, acknowledgement of tribal land, and then approval of the agenda. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y la república que representa una nación.
Bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect culture among united cultures. Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el símbolo Zia de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas. We acknowledge that our Board of Education meeting is taking place on occupied indigenous land. We acknowledge the Tesuque Pueblo lands and other tribal lands on which we stand. We honor these people, past, present, and future. We acknowledge the history and ongoing colonization of where we are sitting right now in New Mexico and in our country. We acknowledge our own place in the story of colonization. Okay, we've got approval of the agenda. Dr. Garcia, are there any changes to the agenda?
Mr. President, members of the board, no.
Anything from the board? Can I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda, President Abeyta.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Introduction of interpreter.
Presidente Abeyta, miembros de la Junta y Superintendente García, para asistencia de traducción en español, la señora Rivera te ayudará.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a school showcase. The first school that we are going to showcase this evening is Salazar Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to, it's not Kathy Casaus. Is she going to introduce our showcase tonight?
Thank you, Board President Abeyta, board members, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. Our first showcase is Salazar Elementary, and it's an honor to introduce their principal, Alyssa Maestas.
Good evening, Board President Abeyta, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. I am the proud principal of Salazar Elementary, and tonight I look forward to taking a few minutes to showcase the brilliance happening at our school and lead you through a few steps that we've taken in our journey together. Next slide. At this time, we want to share a 1-minute video so you can hear from our students about how they feel at Salazar Elementary.
Mostly the unique events like win, awards for doing good on your tests, staff versus students basketball games for your test, and then the thing I like the most about that is that if you go and get a PAX Positive office referral, you get a book vending machine token and you get to go down to the book vending machine.
The teacher that impacts me the most is Miss Salazar because she really kind of teaches in a different way, like a funner way than usual.
Teacher that has made the biggest impact on me is Mr. Henry because he helped me move up from a 3rd grade level up to a 6th grade level in a few months. His energy and humor and his kindness make him my favorite teacher. awesome teachers, and I love Salazar.
I want to take a second to walk you through our journey at Salazar. So when I was hired in 2022, one of the first tasks that I had was to boost enrollment. At that time, our enrollment was at an all-time low, and we really needed more students to be able to have the collaboration, the amount of teachers, staffing. So we really worked hard to collaborate with NI and other pre-K programs to get the word out about what was happening at Salazar, with the hope of people coming in for tours. We quickly started getting pre-K families in, and my secretary and I and several other staff members would go in any time or day that people could make it. And slowly but surely, we went from 5 new students to 10 new students. By the end of the year 2024, we ended with 255 students. And right now, we currently have 289 students at Salazar. When I look at that number, I remember those 55 school tours, and I feel so proud of our staff and also the beautiful families that you see for getting the word out about the brilliance at Salazar. Next slide. Now that our enrollment is stable, we've really shifted our focus, and we want to be on a pathway to proficiency. We look forward to the day where all of our students are proficient in both reading and math. So a few of the steps that we've taken to get there are making really clear procedures and protocols so that our teachers can focus on what's the most important thing at school, reading and being with their students. We do offer a 50-50 dual language model in every grade level. We're excited to be able to produce biliterate students who are going into middle school with that advantage of speaking 2 languages. My amazing school counselor and I read a book together over the summer on connection over correction. And we really strive to focus on positive reinforcements and connect with our students. You heard about our book vending machine in the video. That has been a huge hit at Salazar. When students are doing something kind, we'll ask teachers to write a positive office referral and to make sure they get every single student by the end of the year. I'll read it on the announcements, they come for their coin, and they can go select a book of their choice. And it's a very proud moment, and we do our best to share those photos with families. Out of all of our accomplishments at Salazar, the one that I'm the most proud of is the team that we've created. This year, I can say that going into the school year, my husband asked me how I was feeling about the first day of school. And I remember getting teary-eyed and telling him, I am so proud of my new hires and the people who have stuck with us. This dream team is going to do amazing things. And I just feel so proud to hear the laughter in the teacher's lounge, to see high fives in the halls, and to hear kids say how welcome and loved they feel at our school. Next slide. Something unique to Salazar is that we have implemented a 45-minute daily block for English language arts instruction. This is our second year doing it, and we are learning and growing. The goal of this is to accelerate growth and close learning gaps. We assess every single student in our school in the beginning of the year and put them in a group with a specific skill that they need to work on. So, for example, they might be in a phonics group. We'll keep a close pulse on how they're growing, and once they've mastered that skill, their teacher will move on to something else, or their WIN group will change. It's exciting to see how this creates such a community at our school where every student feels like they have an adult that's really supporting them and their growth. Next slide. The community at Salazar is beautiful. I sent these families a class dojo message and said, I need a few kiddos. I think we got 100% of the families that we invited to come out tonight, and that's a testament to our culture. Our families show up for us in the most beautiful way, and so do our community partners. I tried to put the logos of each community partner that will help us for big events, but also day-to-day needs. Gerard's House will come in if students have lost a family member and need counseling. The Food Depot helps us distribute bags so that students have food at home. These community partners are just so close, near and dear to my heart and so many of our students. At this time, I would like to invite you to hear the way that we start our day at Salazar every day. The way that we set the tone for the day is by reminding students that at Salazar, they're the driving force of every decision that is made. They belong at our school, and they are loved. Our students will introduce themselves and join us on the floor to recite our pledge.
Hi, my name is Olivia Dominguez, and I'm in 6th grade at Salazar, and I'm in a bilingual classroom.
Hi, my name is Liliana Mendiola, and I'm from Salazar.
Hi, my name is Stephen Maestas. I'm in a 5th grade bilingual class, and I'm a student at Salazar.
Hi, my name is Linnea Ortiz, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Hi, my name is Gus. I'm in 1st grade.
Hi, my name is Amina Scott, and I'm in 3rd grade at Salazar Elementary.
Hi, my name is Theo Jefferson. I'm a 6th grader at Salazar Elementary in a 6th grade Duolingo class.
Hi, my name is Savannah, and I'm a student of Salazar.
Hi, my name is Jerome Lovato, and I'm a 5th grader at Salazar in a bilingual class.
My name is Noah. I'm in kindergarten at Salazar Elementary. Hi, my name is Alan McGrego, and I'm in 2nd grade, and I'm a student of Salazar Elementary.
Hi, my name is Cruz Padilla. I'm in 5th grade in a bilingual class.
My name is Aries Grego, and I'm in a 5th grade Duolingo class.
My name is Lucas Christie, and I'm in 2nd grade.
Hello, my name is Daniela Garcia, and I'm in 5th grade at Salazar Elementary.
Hola, yo soy David, me llamo... Hola, yo soy David, estoy en 3er año y estoy en Salazar.
Hello, I'm Henry Taggart. I go to Salazar Elementary, and in the video that you saw, I stated that I went up from 3rd grade to 6th grade level, but now I've made it from 3rd grade to an 8th grade level and from 5th grade to a 9th grade level.
Oh, thank you.
And then just the last thank you slide. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share all of the amazing things happening at Salazar. At this time, Olivia is delivering cookies made by one of our incredible families who made Salazar night cookies for the board.
These look too great to eat, though.
I want to take a second to thank our wonderful Santa Fe Public School leadership team. I see so many faces that I need to call on a weekly basis for support with our building or a wellness question, and each person answers and really supports me. I want to give a special thank you to Vanessa Romero, who in here I said saw me as a leader years ago when she visited my second grade class, encouraged me to get an administrative license, and I wouldn't be here without you, so thank you very much. And I also need to thank my amazing supervisor, Miss Kathy Casaus. I cannot think of a better mentor. Every time I call her, she answers the phone and will lead me through anything that I need, but she's also so committed to growing me as a professional and as a person. So thank you, Kathy. I am forever grateful to have had you over the last 4 years as assistant principal and principal. Thank you all for letting us showcase the brilliance at Salazar. We will continue to shine and show you all that we're doing. Thank you.
Anything from the board? Vice President Noble.
Thank you so much to all of you for coming. That was an amazing presentation. These cookies are, I'm still on. It's still green, but here, I can go over here too. These cookies are too beautiful to eat, so huge thanks to whatever family brought those in. But really, they're incredible numbers. What you've done in terms of enrollment is truly impressive, and I have no doubt it is because of a strong culture and a strong team that you have, and clearly in a sort of request for folks to show up, for you all to come out and show us what is so good and strong about your school is just incredibly touching. So thank you to everyone for being here, and a huge special thanks for the students for introducing yourselves. You have no idea how good it feels to hear all of your voices introduce yourselves and say a little something about your school. Appreciate it.
Board Member Bose.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I just want to echo what Vice President Noble said. You know, have seen all the many ways that the wonderful principal has recruited students, and you know, her presence and her real true building community. And we see this in the culture, and we also see it in the academics. It's clear the work you're doing is wonderful, and it's been great to see the students here this evening. Thank you for everything.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I want to congratulate all of you, parents, students, leadership at the school, your principal, because it's a fantastic achievement you've made. You've also got an incredible growing garden that I know Sprouts and others are trying to support, and I so applaud that. I also want you to know that when we were recently at the school board meeting in Atlanta the last few days, the guy tried to sell me a vending machine that had books, and I said, we have that. We've got that at Salazar. So anyway, I want to congratulate you on that, and keep reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to acknowledge all of you guys who came up, spoke, and introduced yourself. That's really impressive. I know I still get nervous sometimes speaking up here, so that's really cool to see, and I'm glad to see that you're so supportive, that you're comfortable doing that, even trying it in 2 languages. That's really impressive, so good job.
Dr. Garcia.
Just briefly, I want to echo everything that has been said. I have a 5-year-old grandson in Flower Mound, Texas. I would give the world for him to be at your school. Thank you.
Okay, our next showcase is Milagro Middle School.
Thank you, Mr. President. Whoa, I'm excited already. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Christina Gonzalez, our Fine Arts Coordinator, will introduce this presentation.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us, Board President Abeyta, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. I am excited to introduce Megan Bowers-Avina. Megan is our makerspace teacher at Milagro Middle School. She has a BFA from Parsons School of Design, a master's in education from UNM, as well as a teaching degree from Northern New Mexico College. Megan is a level 3 teacher and believes middle school learning should be fun with lots of movement and relevance. This is Megan's 7th year teaching at Milagro. Prior to joining the district, she was an award-winning photojournalist working for newspapers and magazines before becoming a teacher and a mom to her 15-year-old son Jasper with husband Army veteran Francisco Avina. And you're going to be very excited by this presentation. And Salazar families, we're going to see you, right? If you're 6th grade, we'll see you at Milagro next year. So what a beautiful alignment. I'm going to turn it over to Megan.
Okay, well, I was nervous until I saw all of you guys do that, so I'm less nervous. Thank you for having me, President Abeyta, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Garcia. So this is a video I made last night. The makerspace, Christina warned me to write it down because I get way off track because it's so much. So this is my attempt at capturing the vibe of the Milagro makerspace. It's one of those places where you really have to be there in the thick of it to feel the energy. Describing the makerspace in under 5 minutes is almost an impossible task. So I was sitting there thinking the words. I'd say excitement, pride, trust, learning, autonomy. That's the first word I teach them when they walk in on the first day of school. Autonomy. I'm giving you your autonomy back. Use it well. Movement, cultural expression, creativity, and then a shared feeling of success. So I was sitting there, I ran out of words, and then Victor walked in, your best buddy. I said, Victor, I can't think of any other way to describe the makerspace. He's a 7th grader. And he said, Miss, it's where we are able to wonder and create. And I was, oh, okay, that's kind of perfect. Wonder. So when my students enter the makerspace, they are expected to put their critical thinking skills to work. You'd be surprised how little that has happened up until this point. No running with scissors. Now they're onto saws and drills and giant hammers and hot glue guns. 3 strikes, you're out. So they shoulder the responsibility of creating a work of art that addresses the given standard. An example of a makerspace standard, because we have the only makerspace in the district, and we've pretty much created our own standards with the help of everyone else. So, but a standard for the makerspace would be generate a collection of ideas reflecting current interests and concerns that could be investigated in art making. So using their knowledge of self,
Test 1, 2.
Thank you, it was just me. So using their knowledge of self, which allows for sharing their culture and creates a classroom community of respect as well.
Test 1, 2.
What the heck? I'm going to stand here. Where was I? Creating a classroom community of respect as well as acquiring the skills needed to create the art. We've been having a lot of tours of 6th graders, and I basically just say everything in here was made by the people in here. By the people in here. So I will give an assignment that meets the standard, and then they are able to choose the medium with which they complete the standard. So you can walk in, and there will be some kids carving, some kids on a sewing machine, some kids tin punching, animation, photography, ceramics with traditional micaceous clay. We just got 2 pottery wheels, which is super exciting. Thank you. Sorry. So every year I begin with my Zazabra project. Students research the history of the event. We view Zazobras of the past, 100 years now, and then they are set free to design their own version of Old Man Gloom. Acquired skills include sewing, paper mache, 3D design, fabrication, tiling floors. Taco Man's floor is entirely tiled if you look inside his booth, etc. It's a plethora of projects. The project ends with an extremely popular gallery opening and show at Santa Fe Community College. My students were the first middle schoolers to ever be included in the show. And after the first year, they said, you have to bring back the Zazobras because it was the hit of the show. And a lot of people wanted to buy them. They still want to buy them. And the kids are excited about that and happy to do that if they want to. So let's see, we had 50 Cent won the most popular, most original. Taco Guy, he won the Hispanic Heritage Award. He's amazing. You'll have to come up and look at him afterwards. And then the real deal, Emilio, my 7th grader right here, his traditional Old Man Gloom, and he'll explain to you why his is traditional and exactly like him. So I see Mr. Hunter over there. I didn't write this. I'm going off script. I want to acknowledge Mr. Hunter and Miss Cording, Miss Brenda Cording, who hired me as the STEAM teacher when I walked in with a crazy bunch of projection art, things on walls, and they just said, okay, when can you start? And that was it. And I'm still there. And I want to express my gratitude for Principal Georgia Baca. She trusts the process. It's a big deal. Sometimes you walk in my room, which the maintenance people do, and turn around and leave. She trusts the project, the process. It's pretty chaotic, and she's the kids' biggest fan. Every show they have, and we do a lot of shows out in the community, she's there, rooting them on. She's here right now, rooting them on. And I wanted to express my gratitude for Christina Gonzalez, who also helped hire me that day. It's a hurry up, get her before someone else. And I said, what? Wow, this is so cool. She's, for the past 7 years, has provided inspirational professional development and encouragement for my curriculum. I was able to attend the National Association for Arts Educators conference a couple weeks ago. Every year, Christina randomly draws an art teacher's name. And I just wanted to attest to the importance of professional development that is relevant to art teachers. There were 3,500 art teachers there from all over the country, and a lot of districts sent 10 of them or 15 of them because they're big districts. And you just leave there with this incredible sense of confidence and connections to districts around the country, et cetera. It was amazing, and I thank you all so much for doing what you do, being on the board and being here, especially now. It's really hard work, and I know the funding is hard, but that is so important. So, as a former newspaper photojournalist, I really believe that a picture tells 1,000 words, so I wanted to share all that is the Milagro Makerspace kind of in the past week and a half. Cue video. I love them so much. Okay, now I would like to introduce Emilio. He is a Zobra guy. As you can see, his sweatshirt has patches from every year that he volunteers, works there. He goes right after school. He stays. They've already started building. He told me they picked up the wood. So, Emilio.
Hello, everybody. President Abeyta, members of the board, Intermin, Superintendent Garcia. Hello, everybody. My name is Emilio Garcia. I am a Makerspace student, also a Milagro Middle School student. Thank you, Ms. Baca. Thank you, Ms. Avina, for everything that you guys do for me. You guys welcomed me to school the first day. You guys treated me like family. Thank you guys so much. I also helped build Zobra. I will be going to college for architect, and I will be taking over the construction job for Zobra. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me. Thank you for your good schools. Thank you guys. Big shout out to Milagro, and thank you for supporting me. And go Milagro.
We just wanted to, this guy has been on tour for months. We had to he's been on tour for months. He's getting a little weary.
Okay, anything from the board? Vice President Noble.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your vision and your inspiration, and thank you, Emilio, for coming and sharing your work with us. Really appreciate it.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you. That was super amazing. I love seeing kids use their hands and creating, and how incredible that you've gotten to, tie in the standards and have such a collaborative effort with, school site staff and district staff, and the kids are learning, and it's incredible. Very cool. Thanks for being here, Emilio. That was great work.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I would like to congratulate all of you for once again creating an environment where learning is based in the arts as well as technology, bringing them all together. Watching that video was terrific. I'd like to show that to everybody I know to see, can you imagine if I had been able to do this in the 7th grade? Are you kidding? They didn't even think about that. I was memorizing times tables still, I think. But anyway, congratulations. It really was terrific. And are you sure they're not for sale? Because I'm ready to buy. Okay, next year maybe.
And our student board member.
Thank you, Mr. President. And yeah, just echoing what everyone else said, it's really cool to see those arts be a focus. That's part of what I find really special about Mandela too. And Emilio, good job on speaking. Good job on your Zobra. It's keep shooting high, because you'll get there. That's something that I've been made aware of now with college applications and all this stuff in my life. So follow your dreams.
And Dr. Garcia.
Just have one word for all of you. Wow.
Okay, so that concludes our school showcase. Thank you.
Yeah, someone ripped them off. I don't remember them.
Okay, as we clear out and get ready for our public forum, it was brought to my attention that we may need interpretation. So if we could be sure to provide that as we continue this evening.
President Abeyta, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, and board members. The rules of public forum have been taken off of this podium. Don't know when that happened, but they're not up here right now. So, okay, excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Tara.
Okay, Joe, is the interpreter here, or did the interpreter leave?
Interpreter is here.
Okay.
Right over there.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to start with the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education Public Forum Ground Rules. Public forum includes online and/or virtual participation as needed, as well as in-person comments when the board holds in-person meetings. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. No sharing of time. Self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. You will receive a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. Public commentary and dialogue are allowed only during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. Please do not discuss employee matters which may result in disciplinary action. Instead, notify the employer's supervisor, the Human Resources Department, or the superintendent. And with that, we have 11 speakers here in-house, and we have 7, thanks Tara, and 7 online input. So, President Abeyta, would you like to start with the online, or would you like to?
Let's start with the individuals that are here.
Excellent.
Present. Thank you.
So our first speaker is Miguel Acosta.
President Abeyta, members of the board, and good to see you again, Superintendent. This one? All righty. See, I grab one of these, I want to start singing. President Abeyta, members of the board, and Superintendent Veronica Garcia, how are you? I need to make a comment before I provide my comments, so outside of the time limit. It's about interpretation, right? So we had some wonderful presentations so far here at the meeting, but people that don't understand and speak English missed it all because there was nobody providing interpretation for them. Interpretation means everything, not just what they say when they come up here, right? So if we're going to plan for, actual inclusion and interpret, I know we're not supposed to use terms like inclusion or whatever, but we have to make sure that people have the earpieces and are listening and hearing all the wonderful comments, the presentations, and all that. Otherwise, it becomes one of those, why should I go if I can't understand anything anyway? So just so you understand that, please. So in terms of comments that I wanted to provide, we've been encouraging, not mobilizing, but encouraging people to participate at the superintendent forums that you all were planning and other kinds of activities, but because for lots of reasons, some of them pre-existing, right, like the comments I just made, but also because of the current negative atmosphere around the country, some folks a lot of folks are hesitant, right, to attend public events, etc. Even tonight, we encourage people to come tonight, and a lot of folks said, it just doesn't feel right. But the other night for the Nina Otero meeting, we had a conversation prior, and our parent leaders came up with some ideas that they wanted us to share. I shared some of them that night, but I wanted to share them all with you here. They wanted you to know they also pay taxes, and they also support school bonds. I'm talking about immigrant families. I'm talking about the majority. They said the majority of the district is immigrant or immigrant related, right? Our families are the majority, they said. They wanted you to know that they didn't appreciate sort of scripted questions about requirements, because requirements are set by PED and everybody else, that they needed to have conversations about the actual qualities of leadership that we needed in our community right now. And the kinds of things that they mentioned was that that they need someone that's completely bilingual and bicultural and of Latino descent and from the countries most represented in the schools, which is Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador, or Chicano, Hispanic from the U.S. 2, that they have experience as a bilingual or dual language teacher, and 3, that they have experience as an administrator of a bilingual district or school. That they have documented experience in creating and participating in local partnerships with governments and community groups, because we're not going to get this as a school through this as a school district by ourselves. Our families need the support of every single institution. That she be willing to defend the civil rights of our families. That she had the experience involving students and families in decision and shared leadership. That she has the experience in opening doors as community centers. That she understands that the school is a reflection of the community reality, and that's what needs to change. That the budget needs to reflect our actual investment in our families and our kids. That teachers from our countries, not Spain, be recruited and supported and promoted. That all gyms must be retrofitted for soccer. We've been asking for 18 years. That all schools should have ESL, high school completion, job training, and certification programs for parents and adults. The cultural programming be relevant, right? A lot of it is embarrassing if you go see the kinds of things that they do. They're supposed to be representing our culture. And that we need to build leadership at the district and board level that actually represents immigrant communities. Thank you.
Next up is Rosario H. Barrero.
Buenas noches, soy Rosario Torres, bilingüe, bicultural, binacional. I have been here before in support of dual language and bilingualism, biliteracy, bicultural relevant programs in our schools. I am fortunate that for several years now, I've been able to be a judge for the bilingual seal. This was the first year that I was able to do that for 8th graders, but I've also done it for high schoolers for, I think, 4 years now. I am very happy, and it's a privilege for me to be able to do that for the kids in our school. As most of you know, I am a volunteer at Cesar Chavez. I think it's my 12th year there. I go every day. I know the community, I know the kids, I know the teachers that have come and gone, and I know the principals that have come and gone. A lot of it has to do with some of what Miguel said, but I think what is most important of anything, is that we recognize that a community doesn't exist on its own. A community, like Alyssa said earlier, is made. And it's made with attitudes, it's made with programs, it's made with resolute intention, and it's made with the desire to be successful. As we look for a new superintendent, we have to do it with the right intent. This is not an easy job, and it's not a fast process. It shouldn't be. If we do that, if we just try to fill a position, we're going to end up in trouble again. So please think about what you're doing in terms of moving this as fast as you can, because it's not about doing things as fast as you can. I want to say again to the dual language program, I want it to be successful. I know what it means to be bilingual. I know what it is to be binational. We have to support our students and our families. Families need to be able to come to our schools and feel like they belong. They're not an afterthought. They have to walk in through the doors and be welcomed and be asked to stay, to come into the classroom, to see their kids be successful. Thank you.
Next up is Elise Packard.
Good evening, President Abeyta, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, and members of the leadership team and the members of the community who have come out this evening. My name is Elise Packard, and I have volunteered with the public school system right here in Santa Fe for 13 years. I am here to remind us of the human toll that can result from quick decision-making and to ask us all to slow down in this selection of the new superintendent. There are two fine people who are no longer working in our district. One is a former superintendent who perhaps became overwhelmed because of his lack of experience, and another fine educator. Both had dedicated years of experience to our district, and now they are gone, and their professional careers are in shreds. This tragedy is the result of quick decision-making in the selection process and the assumption that the superintendent's role can be an on-the-job training experience. In our complex district, on-the-job training will not work. The complexity of the system demands the know-how that only experience as a superintendent can provide. This is true at any time, but especially now. When New Mexico and this district are under a court order to provide the services that its school population desperately needs, as a state, we rank last in academic excellence. We are by constitution a bilingual state, and we have decided to offer dual language instruction. There is an ongoing teacher shortage, and securing visas might become more difficult for dual language teachers. We have a Reimagining Our Schools study that calls for the reinvention of middle schools. The U.S. Department of Education is being torn apart each day. Stop the search for a new superintendent only when the majority of candidates have had experience as superintendents, and preferably several who have succeeded in multicultural turnaround situations. If necessary, create an interim leadership composed of the competent current leadership team. Why are we in a hurry? Don't settle for quick and expedient. There is a tragic human toll that can result. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Next up, we have Garen Spray.
Good evening, President Abeyta, Dr. Garcia, members of the board. My name is Garen Spray. I teach history at Capitol High School. I'm here to speak tonight about the search for the new superintendent. I'm hoping you'll find a superintendent who understands the need for literacy education. There is very little reading instruction in the middle schools and high schools. Many, if not most, of our students languish at the 3rd or 4th grade reading levels until they graduate. They cannot understand their textbooks. The new social studies textbooks that the state purchased 2 years ago are indeed fantastic books, but in the high schools, the books mostly sit on the shelves unused because our kids cannot comprehend them. Students who do not read at grade level, and that's most of them, need to receive explicit, direct reading instruction every year until they're proficient. Why don't we do this? Why instead do we ask teachers to dumb down the curriculum and lower standards? We need to teach kids to read, and our failure to do so is a gross dereliction of our duties as a school district. You, as the board, and the superintendent you hire are obligated to do something about this. I urge you to look into the Mississippi Miracle. The state of Mississippi decided to focus on reading skills, and in 9 years, went from being ranked second lowest state in reading levels to the 21st ranked state in reading levels. It can be done, but Santa Fe Public Schools chooses not to make literacy a priority. The dearth of literacy education speaks to a broader picture of what we need as a district. We need a superintendent who understands and is willing to address systemic problems. Once again, as an example, I will call your attention to the silliness that is standards-based grading. The SBG effort has been a colossal waste of resources. We need to teach our kids to read. We need to hire counselors. We need to get cell phones out of the classrooms. We need to lower class sizes. And a superintendent who is an actual educator would understand this. Instead, we dump time and money into low-hanging fruit like standards-based grading. Is it any wonder then that our kids leave the district with only about 20% proficiency rates in reading and math? And why do we still give them diplomas if they can't read, add, or subtract? Find a superintendent who worries about kids' skills, not someone who is obsessed with what I have written on my whiteboard. Thank you.
Next up is Jennifer Warren.
Good evening, everyone. President Abeyta, members of the board, Superintendent, Interim Superintendent Garcia. I teach first grade at Nina Otero Community School. My name is Jennifer Warren, and I am here basically to beg you to please address the crisis of the lack of substitute teachers in our district. On any given day, we have at least 10 teacher absences, and most of these go unfilled. That leaves us splitting classes, taking students who aren't even at our grade level into our classrooms, or having to give up our own very valuable prep time. Please, this is not sustainable. We cannot keep giving up when we're actually trying to teach our students to read. We were told that when the new company, ESS, I believe, came in, that things were going to get better. They haven't gotten better. And we're wondering, are there not funds to pay substitute teachers more? What can we do to support substitute teachers? At our school, we've taken it up. We've created subfolders. We've had meetings about it. We've talked to subs, asked them what would make it better for you to be here. And we're doing everything we can to make them feel welcome, but often they don't even show up. So I just beg you, come for a day, come substitute, help us out, because this situation is not sustainable. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Kobe Hansen.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Superintendent Garcia, Board President Abeyta, and members of the board. My name is Kobe Hansen. I'm not an educator. I'm just actually the husband of one. My wife has been employed with Santa Fe Public Schools since about 2013, primarily as an EBHA. She was asked near the end of the 23-24 school year by two of the on-site administrators at Santa Fe High if she would be interested in transferring to a secretarial position for the school's special education department. She accepted the position and has done an excellent job in her role this past school year. Due to secretarial staffing shortages at her school, she's been asked to perform other duties when there was a need and has taken on those responsibilities as well. She was told on 2 occasions by the directing principal that she was going to be transitioned into the role of SPED secretary, special education secretary, focusing only on SPED duties, only to have these statements reversed within days. When my wife discussed this in January with the former superintendent and the HR director stated there was no SPED secretary position in existence, and that the district would have to work on creating that position, and the position would have to be approved by the union. I understand that. We took the opportunity to look through the current CBA between SFPS and the NEA of Santa Fe. Imagine our surprise when we read through Article 29 dealing with special education, specifically Section 10, subsection B, which reads, secretarial support. Each special education department with more than 175 students will employ a special education secretary whose workday is dedicated to special education duties. My wife has scheduled approximately 400 meetings for students with IEPs at Santa Fe High this year, well over the 175 student threshold listed in that CBA. Article 29 states that departments with over 175 students will, not may, not can, but will employ a special education secretary. Since the CBA states that a special education secretary will be employed, that would seem to indicate that the position does in fact exist. Even though I know I won't get an answer because it's not on the agenda, much like my wife has not gotten answers to several emails to members of the leadership team, my question tonight is, when is Santa Fe Public Schools going to be in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement concerning dedicated special education secretaries? And finally, who's not telling the truth? My wife was told by the former superintendent and director of HR that SPED secretary positions do not exist, yet the CBA states that they have it for schools with a large number of SPED students. Again, according to Article 29, Section 10, subsection B of your contract with your employees, all students within SFPS that have more than 175 SPED students should have a dedicated SPED secretary. Thank you.
Next speaker is Claire Love.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. Thank you for taking the time to listen this evening. My name is Claire Love, and I am a first grade teacher over at Nino Otero Community School. I am here to make sure that you are aware of the lack of substitutes in our district and its impact on the staff and students. Today, Nino Otero had 18 staff members out, including 3 specials teachers who are out on extended leave for the rest of the school year. This means that teachers are being forced to split classes and/or sell their prep time at an untenable frequency. When teachers split classes, students end up sitting on the floor because there are not enough desks and chairs or supplies to accommodate all the students in one classroom. Teachers need their planning time in order to plan and prepare to deliver high-quality lessons to our students so that we can teach them to read. Our teachers and our students deserve better. ESS was hired to alleviate the problem of a lack of substitutes. However, the problem persists under their management. And I have 2 questions for you this evening. What is the school board doing to address this problem? And when will we see this issue on a board meeting agenda? Thank you for your time and concern.
Our next speaker is Irene Epp.
So my name is Irene. Is this working now? It is. I can probably actually do without it. I'm here as an ordinary citizen. I'm also a lifetime educator. And this is addressed to the school board and with great hope in my heart for what will happen in the future. I think it's no surprise to anyone at this meeting that we're not living in ordinary times, educators. These are not regular, ordinary, everyday times. These are times when we need to think, we need to be really, really awake, and when we need education more than we've ever needed it before. It's urgent. Right now, in the midst of all this turmoil, our children need support and plenty, plenty of it. They need not only their strong families and the commitment of all those folks, but they need all of our commitments. And school board, they need you. They need you personally, they need you on the job, and they need you to make a big success of this superintendent search. The time for doing it again or thinking about it, et cetera, is well over. And you need time. In my opinion, you need more time than you're allowing right now. You need a broad look, and you need to be completely committed and serious to this search. It really, truly needs to happen. I've been an educator for probably about 45, 50 years. I've been a head of school. I've been on boards. This is it, folks. You really have to be on the job. You have to do this right, and you have to get this one right, because there's a lot of turmoil around. There's a lot going on here in Santa Fe City, Santa Fe County, New Mexico, the United States, and the world. This is a time, you're probably tired. I know that you're volunteers, but you have to stand up and do this. I'm looking for it. I'm hoping for you, and I'm here tonight as a Santa Fe resident to please get on it. Please give it more time. It's not a contest. It's not about time. It's about excellence. And it's about a kind of superintendent that maybe we've never even seen before, but it needs to be something special. And let's face it, it's up to you to do it. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Our next speaker is Lynn Bickley.
Good evening, Board President Abeyta, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. Thank you for your dedication to education in our district. I again come to you as an individual, a volunteer in our schools for 15 years, and a long-time educator, to encourage you to lengthen and expand the superintendent search. Our children deserve the best superintendent in the nation, a super educator with a track record of educational accomplishments, yet attuned to the complex challenges of our district. A super educator who focuses on education and delegates administrative functions to our very able cabinet. Why not a leader who ensures a Santa Fe miracle that unites our community in achieving high learning proficiencies for every student? Please consider a longer interim appointment and follow the practice of many districts that use a professional educational search firm that takes 6 to 12 months to secure a deep talent pool of regional and national candidates. Secondly, please clarify how you will share data from the forums with our community. A number of participants asked that the Carroll Strategies Public Relations Firm report be shared with the public and the community. Finally, please consider deepening the engagement of our parents and community in the superintendent application process. Of the 5 forums on the north side, attendance was Piñon, 20 people, Milagro, 7, Aspen, 13, Atalaya, 4, and Santa Fe High School, 9. Of the 2 forums on the south side, attendance was Nina Otero, 8 community members of teachers and others, and Capitol High, only 2, or only 63 people at all 7 forums. Please consider this request. Thank you to all of you.
Next up, Miriam Lucero. Sorry.
Muy buenas tardes. Por favor.
My name is Miriam Luevano. Ms. Garcia, Ms. Noble, and Mr. Abetia, thank you for your time, and also the members. I want to do my statement in Spanish because we have some members to our community to speak Spanish, so she helped me in the English part. Thank you. Como padre de familia y miembro activo de esta comunidad,
Como as a mom and sorry, déjalo pongo más aquí.
All right.
So as a family member of a student and active community member,
me siento con la responsabilidad de alzar la voz por nuestros niños.
I feel I have the responsibility to speak for our children.
Exijo una educación bilingüe de calidad.
I demand a bilingual education of quality.
Que no solo respete nuestro idioma y cultura, sino que brinde las herramientas necesarias para que nuestros hijos puedan soñar en grande.
That it not only respects our culture and language,
Yeah.
but that it also gives us the necessary tools for our children so that they may dream in big.
Una educación bilingüe efectiva abre puertas, fortalece identidades y crea puentes entre culturas.
A bilingual education that is effective and opens doors, and it identifies and creates bridges between cultures.
También considero fundamental que tengamos un superintendente que conozca y respete nuestra comunidad.
I consider it fundamental that we have a superintendent that knows and respects our community.
Necesitamos liderazgo con raíces en nuestra realidad, alguien que escuche, que camine con nosotros y que entienda nuestras luchas y nuestras fortalezas y también nuestras necesidades.
We need leadership with leadership with se me olvidó cómo decir raíces. We need leadership with roots that have quality. Someone that will listen and walks with us, that will understand and fights and makes us stronger. And it can't be a decision
With us.
It has to take a decision with us.
Por último, hago un llamado para que se abran los gimnasios escolares para que nuestros niños y jóvenes tengan un espacio seguro donde puedan jugar fútbol, soccer.
And last but not least, I please ask that the school gymnasiums for our children have a safe space where they may play football and any activities.
Estamos en una ciudad donde muchas familias no pueden pagar ligas privadas o gimnasios. Estos espacios públicos deben estar al servicio de nuestra comunidad.
So we are in a city where a lot of
families. They can pay.
Oh yeah. We are in a city where a lot of families cannot pay for private teams or gymnasiums. These public spaces should be at the service of the community.
El deporte no solo promueve la salud física, también fomenta carácter, fomenta el trabajo en equipo y aleja a nuestros jóvenes y niños de caminos peligrosos.
Sports not only promote physical health, but they also help form character for our children in these difficult roads.
Thank you so much for your time and for listening. Thank you.
Next up is Luis Maratola. Murataya.
Hello, everybody. Buenas tardes a todos, señoras, señoritas, superintendente, señores de las escuelas, muchas gracias por esta oportunidad.
Good evening to all, Superintendent, President, and members of the board.
Yo soy la voz de la gente inmigrante en Santa Fe.
I am the voice for the immigrant people of Santa Fe,
Pero especialmente por los niños.
but especially for the kids.
Ok. Vengo a hablar por los niños de los hogares con divorcios, de los niños que están propensos para agarrar un mal camino con las drogas. Por favor, regálenme su atención.
I come to speak on behalf of the children of Santa Fe that come from broken homes. Please, may I have your attention?
Ok, tenemos 15 años de trabajar en las calles con la juventud de Santa Fe, incluyendo inmigrantes, chicanos, americanos, todos los que están en la calle buscando qué hacer.
We have 15 years of working with children who are on drugs, who need assistance.
Ok, hemos sido voluntarios en la cárcel de menores para brindarles una oportunidad, una idea, una amistad, un hombro de apoyo a los niños.
We have volunteered with at the prison for children. We go and speak to them and let them know that there's more than drugs to help them out.
Ok, señores, le doy gracias al programa de señor Miguel Acosta, que está con nosotros, nos apoya. Quiero aprovechar la oportunidad para pedirles su ayuda, por favor.
I want to give thanks to Miguel Acosta for his support, and I want to ask for your help.
Señores del board, mi comunidad, nuestra comunidad, la representamos con el soccer. Nuestra liga es Santa Fe Community Soccer League. Somos free para los niños. Tenemos 15 años trabajando free para los niños. Necesitamos un gimnasio, necesitamos un campo de afuera. Cuando hay frío necesitamos un gimnasio. Ustedes tienen 2 o 3 escuelas abandonadas que podrían darnos un gimnasio, por favor.
We are a soccer league. We have been around for 15 years. We ask that you please provide a space for us to play, especially when it's cold outside. He mentioned there's 3 buildings that are empty.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Por favor, necesitamos su ayuda. Gracias.
He thanks you, and we really need your assistance on this.
Okay, and that concludes our in-person public forum. And now I will continue to read the emails that we got. Okay, our first one is from Tomas S. Kingston, PhD. When the board announced the initiation of a search for a new superintendent, I had sent to the members a recommendation that they seek Dr. Almudena Almi Abeta as a candidate. Even though I knew her to be completely committed to improving the Chelsea, Massachusetts public schools, I wrote her and encouraged her to consider applying to the Santa Fe superintendency. Indeed, she now decided to submit her credentials for consideration. I came to know Dr. Abeyta and her work after she assumed the superintendency of the Chelsea schools in 2019, until I retired in 2011. I had been the district superintendent. Dr. Abeyta's predecessor in Chelsea had sought her out and cultivated her to be the next district leader. For the past half century, the Chelsea school system had been a struggling urban district contiguous to Boston. Students are largely from immigrant families, and the district is challenged by high rates of mobility. Dr. Abeyta has been an excellent leader for the challenging district. She has been She has been formed by her experiences as an urban educator in Boston, Somerville, and Chelsea, and most relevant in Santa Fe. A native New Mexican, she, in my judgment, is an outstanding candidate who has been very well trained at Harvard University's Urban Educators doctoral program and honed by her experiences as a central education administrator. If selected, she is likely to be committed to remaining in the city for the foreseeable future. Please give Dr. Abeyta your due consideration. I believe you have an opportunity to select an outstanding, moral, and inspiring leader who understands the complexities of urban education and diverse student populations. As well, she is a very grounded in effective research-based curricula. Respectfully, Thomas S. Kingston, PhD. Okay, next. Let me get this real quick. All right. Our next writer is Linda St. Clair. President Abeyta, members of the board. The Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Directors possesses a unique opportunity to build trust and improve student learning as they hire our new superintendent. As District 1 community members who recently retired after a combined 79 years in K-12 education, we understand the important task the board has to select the next superintendent. It is a critical decision to address student learning needs. Please consider this encouragement from a couple who have spent their entire careers serving students and families. Number one, please take much more time to complete a thorough search. Number two, please select a proven leader dedicated to improving student learning outcomes. First, please take adequate time for a thorough search. The small and large districts where we serve all use professional educational search firms to organize the entire process under the direction of the board. In our experiences, it takes a few months to gather and summarize input from the community, family, staff, teachers, and administrators. The board can cultivate trust by taking time to really listen and communicating the summary out to district constituents. Once a clear vision of success candidate is formed, then the posting and district profile are created to attract interested leaders. Santa Fe has so much to offer. Really, that window should be opened by several months to develop a large candidate pool. That window should also close about January or February to allow the best applicants to consider the opportunity. 5 or 6 weeks is simply too short, and April or May is simply too late to maximize the pool. Therefore, we strongly encourage the board to hire an interim superintendent for the 25-26 school year, and then use an educational search firm to organize and process through the fall and winter to hire a permanent leader for the 2026-2027 school year. Therefore, we strongly, Second, when the time comes, please select a proven leader of learning. Our new superintendent can have an immense impact on student learning by focusing on improvement as the highest priority. While we certainly respect the complex task of leading public school district, let me just finish the sentence. Our new leader must keep student learning at the forefront of the system. Okay. Let me just fix my contact lenses here, guys. Sorry. I'll read without it. Okay, our next reader is Nicholas Friedman. To the Santa Fe School Board. I am speaking out in opposition to the new year-long New Mexico history class at Santa Fe High School. There is no compelling reason to have this change. That course is not a graduation requirement, and the standards are designed for a semester-long class. The way that freshman schedules are being structured for next year is going to severely hurt our elective programs. Students need more choice and more relevance, not less. We already have multiple social studies courses that can fill the graduation need for 4 credits in social studies. National History Day, Hispanic Studies, AP Human Geography, and AP Psychology are all year long courses that are already available. There are also lots of STARS courses that we in the history department have that are already available. I'm sorry. There are also lots of STAR courses that we in the history department at Santa Fe High School would love to teach that could be either semester or year-long classes, some of which have been taught here in the past. The 4 that we are initially recommending as a semester-long history electives would be sociology, anthropology, New Mexico history, and Native American studies. Part of the Indian Education Act mandates that we have culturally relevant learning environments and instructional materials. Offering courses such as Native American studies would be a step in helping us do better than we currently do. There are also street law, student government, social science, psychology, ethnic and gender studies, political science, international relations, comparative government, contemporary U.S. issues, philosophy, ancient world, mock trial, and many others. Our department was not consulted when making this decision, and we feel strongly that it's not in the best interest of our students. You have the opportunity to correct the course, and I hope that you will do so. Nick Friedman, Head of History Department of Santa Fe High School, World History teacher and AP U.S. History teacher. Next up is Carlos Caldwell. Key changes to incoming freshman scheduling. Good evening, members of the board and interim superintendent, Dr. Veronica Garcia. My name is Carlos Caldwell. I am a social studies teacher at Santa Fe High and a parent of current Santa Fe High student. Unfortunately, I had a prior commitment to the AI working group at the technology department until 6 p.m., so I greatly appreciate the opportunity to comment via email. The New Mexico Public Education Department now requires 4 full credits of social studies. However, PED no longer requires a specific half-credit New Mexico history for high school students. Rather than discuss what our social studies department could do to meet this new requirement, our district has chosen to require a full year of New Mexico history for all freshmen, limiting our ability to offer other rigorous and relevant social study electives, social studies electives that also fulfill this requirement, such as Hispanic Studies, National History Day, Sociology, Anthropology, or AP Human Geography. In reality, there are at least half a dozen ways a student could meet this requirement, while giving students some ownership and choice in how to meet that 4th required social students credit. How about offering a variety of semester-long classes, including New Mexico history? It is important to note that not one member of the social studies department was consulted before the decision was made. We have created standards-aligned options that meet the mandate while offering students engaging in diverse learning pathways. Additionally, the decision to double the length of the health course from 1 semester to a full year class goes far beyond the state's requirement of just 0.5 health credits. By doing this, we effectively crowd out space in the schedule that students need for PE credit, world language courses, or possibly even a single elective. Data suggests that student choice increased student engagement. My daughter chose Santa Fe High because it offered choices other schools did not. I doubt we would make that same decision if she were entering high school with the new requirements that are not necessary and limit student choice. My daughter is thriving at Santa Fe High because she has choices this year. These decisions taken together undermine some of the most successful programs in our district. Electives, where many students find their sense of purpose and engagement, will be sacrificed. AP enrollment will decline. Language problems will suffer, not to mention who is going to teach these year-long classes. Three new year-long classes would require moving staff and hiring more FTEs. And last but not least, from Alexa Williams. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm reaching out to alert you to the ongoing issue of not having enough substitutes and to ask you to please address this issue. Our school is very large, and almost every day we have over 5 absences. My colleagues and I are left scrambling to take extra students, split classes, and sell our preps. Most often, when we split a classroom, it is not even within our grade level. Teachers are getting burnt out, and there seems to be no such thing as a normal school day. We are losing valuable prep time. This situation is dire and not sustainable. There are 3 special teachers out for the remainder of the year. I am missing 2 to 3 prep times a week. This feels like a violation to my CBA. The rest of the teachers in my school are in the same boat, and there are not funds to pay. Are there not funds to pay the subs more? How do we get more qualified subs? At our school, we work hard to make our subs feel welcome and valued. We prepare for them, and then often no one shows up. We need more support, please. Thank you. And that concludes public forum.
Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to our agenda, union update. Is there anybody here from the union to provide an update this evening? No? Okay. Then let's go to our student board member announcements and follow up.
All right, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Hanbi is off touring colleges and Aaron is accepting a scholarship, so it's just me tonight. I'll read everyone's announcements. First is Capital. Capital's band received an excellent rating on stage and a superior rating in sight reading. Miranda Hernandez's artwork was featured at Sight Santa Fe's Young Curators opening. Miranda spoke at this event and represented CHS well. Capital held their 4th quarter SEL day, which featured a guest speaker, Alexis Mejia, for grade level assemblies, Dr. Rizzo facilitating small group student workshops, and staff development facilitated by Omar Womble. The overarching theme was perseverance and aligning our actions to aligning our actions to our values. This was a tremendously successful event. In collaboration with the NM Davis organization, Capital hosted a junior jumpstart, which included a guest panel and college readiness workshop, and students and staff participated in the Pledge Against Gun Violence this week. Moving on to Santa Fe High. Santa Fe High's NJROTC won the 5A state championship with one cadet, Jacqueline Esperanza, qualifying and ranking 10th in the nation and 2nd in the Navy. Santa Fe High School's Chamber Orchestra had a joint concert with the El Dorado Community School Orchestra as a feature for the first Friday concert series event at the St. Francis Auditorium on Friday, April 4th. Santa Fe High's band received a superior rating, 96 out of 100, on sight reading and overall performance. And choir received a 6 superior rating at music performance assessment qualifying for state. 8 choir students made it to all-state choir. Choir placed 11th in state. Moving on to ECO. ECO automotive students brought home gold, silver, and bronze in auto collision technology at the statewide Skills USA competition March 27th to 29th in Albuquerque. ECO is now back-to-back state champions in auto collision. First place was Hernan Salas, a senior at Capital and ECO. Second place was Oscar Luft, a senior at ECO. Third place was Damian Valerio, a freshman at ECO. Fourth place was Mekki Gilcrease, a freshman at ECO. And fifth place was Ezekiel Mays, a freshman at ECO. Freshman Julia Sene Arellano attended the commission as an observer and to a competition as an observer and to help out Mr. Coriz, auto collision teacher. And students and staff participated in the Pledge Against Gun Violence this week. As for Desert Sage, students and staff participated in the Pledge Against Gun Violence this week. And moving on to Mandela, the Mandela Middle School chess team took first place at the regional tournament last Friday at ATC. The high school team finished second after falling to Los Alamos. The Mandela Music Program scored all ones, superior ratings at MPAs in Los Alamos last week. This is a huge success for the Mandela Music Program under the direction of Mr. Jesse Parker. Mandela had 4 students represented in last Friday's art opening at Site Santa Fe's Young Curators exhibit. Congratulations to Giovanna Chavez, Sonia Mendez, Ebby Prim, and Vince Prothro. Our seniors will travel to 100 Elk Outdoor Camp in Buena Vista, Colorado this weekend for their/our senior trip. You all are invited to the final coffee with the principal on April 23rd from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. with Dr. Ron Richart as he shares some of his insights on developing a culture of thinking at home and in our schools. And lastly, our annual IB night, where every 10th, 11th, and 12th grade student shares their IB capstone project, will take place on April 30th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. You're all welcome to attend. And that concludes that.
All right, thank you. Board announcements and follow-ups. Anything from the members? Vice President Noble.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Just wanted to say that I very much enjoyed and learned a lot with some of my fellow board members at the National School Boards Conference in Atlanta, as well as members of the administration team. There's a lot of great ideas out there in the world, the country, of school districts, and, you know, of course they're uneven, but I think all of us got in some very, very good sessions, and hope we can continue talking about that. Also just wanted to say I had the honor of representing the public schools at an event where the governor kicked off the Great American Cleanup this week. And just to say that Saturday is Keep Santa Fe Beautiful hosting sort of activity in this. Groups can register, and I think there's information on keepsantafebeautiful.org. This is, of course, a passion of the governor and many folks. There were a lot of us out there on Cerrillos Road, including, I think, every member of the city council. And it was great to see a bunch of students as well as community and business members there, everyone really thinking about our planet and keeping things beautiful, keeping litter off our streets. And it's been something that everyone was very clear. They love the partnership with the Santa Fe Public Schools and engaging with students to beautify our community, pick up trash, get outside, and do something together. So that was very inspiring, and a lot of us will be out there this Saturday. That's all.
Okay, anything else from the board? Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I also was in Atlanta for the national board for the well, where was I? For the national board meetings in Atlanta. No. Okay, can I use that? Okay, here's the third device. I need a technology course, thank you. What I would like to comment on is what I discovered in attending all of these multiple sessions over 4 days was how innovative Santa Fe Public Schools really are. In other words, I'd be sitting there listening to, as we heard, or I commented earlier about Salazar, do you need a book vending machine for kids? We have that. Do you have the use of bilingual education in your classrooms? Yes. Do you have the arts being used, whether it's music, like he was just saying, or not? Yeah. Music and the arts, yes, we use many of them in our schools, which have been recognized, and I've spoken to before, a great STEAM supporter. The other thing I want to comment is, we have a school called ECO, Early College Opportunities, which really has set the bellwether for me and what I was describing to people in Atlanta of how well we are doing to promote college and career opportunities and blending the education of direct subject matter with those courses that also teach them skill sets which can be used today, if not tomorrow. We're also ahead on the use of AI and understanding AI as we go forward with that technology from both a teacher training point of view as well as use with students. We need more, of course. That's enough. Thank you.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. We'll see how many times my mic goes off here. Board Member Heffron brought up a really good point. I was also in Atlanta at the National School Board Association Conference, and this is the third year that I've attended that conference. And I always feel so proud to represent Santa Fe Public Schools when I'm there. There are lots of really cool ideas, and usually I find myself halfway through a presentation, I go, yeah, we do that. So proud, but that isn't to say that there isn't more work to do. That just means we have to figure out what the next great things are, and we have absolutely an incredible team, both on the board and at the district, to do that. And I always come back energized and full of ideas and hopeful and inspired, and look forward to the next year. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Superintendent announcements and follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. Well, I'm going to try to buzz through these. First of all, on the superintendent search, 22 applicants thus far, 10 are pending. 10 of the pending are out of state. We have 1 district applicant, 2 previously who worked in the district, 11 from out of state, 8 from New Mexico, and we still have a week to go. So I would imagine that we'll have probably well over 40 applicants, possibly. We'll see how many more come in between now and the 17th. Substitutes. So this has also come to my attention as well. And I understand that they have not had a raise in a few years, so salaries are lagging. I also have come to understand that the company that we're using would like to have an 80% fill rate. To do that, they would need 60 more employees, which means we're going to have to figure out what we do with raises, how do we recruit. Well, they're going to have to work on recruiting. But if the salaries are lagging, that's an issue. And if we're paying, and what I've told staff, if we're paying for preps, we're paying the money anyway, right? And so I will be coming back to you with a recommendation on budget on this issue, because it's clearly one that needs attention. And I understand, I talked about, well, can we go back to staffing the way we used to and not having an outside company? We don't have the staff because we cut back on that staffing to have the company work on this, right? So, but if the salaries are lagging, we're missing the boat there. So I will be back with a proposal. Graduation and the credits, that was brought to my attention by Board Member Bozay and Heffron and staff. Been working with Deputy Superintendent Vanessa Romero. She's been working with staff. Actually, we spent a whole SS Cabinet, portion of SS Cabinet on this issue. She's met with more teachers. We'll be coming back with a creative, I think, solution. I'm glad it was brought to our attention, and we've had, I think, Assistant Superintendent or Associate Superintendent, I may not have it right, Hagley has also participated in this. And I think we'll come back with an improved recommendation on that. So we listen and we try to respond and continuously improve is our hope. I'd like to recognize El Dorado science teacher who was selected as a Presidential Award finalist, Miriam Markin. I think we talked about her last time from El Dorado Community School. I think we did. But the House will notify those chosen as presidential awardees and will receive $10,000 from the National Science Foundation. So we wish her the best of luck. I think it's already been mentioned about the 2 Santa Fe Public School choir qualified for NMA state choir competition. So thank you for sharing that information. Also, the Northern New Mexico Music Educators Association hosted its annual music performance assessment for bands at Capitol High School. Bands from across Northern New Mexico participated, and we were very proud of the favorable feedback and ratings received by our students. We are proud to share that every single SFPS band earned either an excellent or superior rating. So way to go, that was fabulous. The New Mexico Pet Assessment Monitoring, we've gotten oral feedback, and thank you, Beata Thorensen, on that. We haven't gotten the written report, but we were told that our training platforms and organization, are we surprised, can serve as a model for other districts. So we continue our long tradition of being a flagship school district. Mental health initiative. Well, that was proposed last spring by the Office of Student Wellness. And here are some results for you. 93 staff have been certified in one of the 4 7-hour youth mental health first aid trainings. At Capitol High, 175 students were certified in the 6-session teen curriculum during their freshman health class. Another 175 are currently receiving the lessons. The middle school's suicide prevention curriculum, Signs of Suicide, is scheduled to be piloted with several groups this spring as well. Also, summer programming. We will have 12 schools with 42 programs with 8 community partnerships. And we are also partnering with the state on their structured literacy program that will be offered to the whole community at 2 of our sites. And I will provide you detail on those sites. Last but not, I have 2 more, almost done. 3 high schools teach a variety of 14 different science classes, and they range from anatomy and physiology and astronomy and geology and biology and environmental science and forensic science. The adoption was completed, I believe, $800,000. Also includes AP Physics, and the middle school recommendations that involve integrated models for science was also coming forth at $723,000. So thank you, the staffs that have worked on this, and the elementary recommendation is forthcoming this month as well. I'm looking at our deputy superintendent over there to shake your head if I've got that right. That concludes my announcements for tonight.
Great, thank you. Yes, Board Member Heffron.
Yes, I wanted to make a comment about Senate Bill 11, which we are waiting for the governor to sign. It passed both the House and Senate in our legislative session. It is essentially telling you about cell phone use in classrooms. It's asking that each district in the state of New Mexico define their own rules and regulations about cell phone use in classrooms. So I'm looking forward to hoping that she signs that and we have that issue before us as well, Superintendent Garcia. Thank you.
Board Member Bose.
Thank you, President Abeyta and Dr. Garcia. I'm just wondering, that's great sounding summer programming. I'm wondering when that information will get pushed out to the community so that signups can happen. Everyone's very eager.
So my understanding, Mr. President, members of the board, Board Member Bose, the letters went out to the providers, I believe, today. And when will we be putting that out on our website, Deputy Superintendent Romero?
President Abeyta, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, we have already started registering students. We are working with Joe to start putting it on social media of all of our summer programs, and we'll have that up, I think, on the website very soon. I know we've been working with Tara and Joe. So we are registering students and already hiring staff.
And we will be including the state programs by the PED that will be housed in our sites. It's Atalaya and, no, where's it going to be?
Wood, Gormley, and Pinon.
I don't know why I have Atalaya on the brain on that. Wood,
Yes.
Gormley, and Pinon. They'll be registering for that, but we're working in collaboration with them to provide the site.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a presentation, a brief update from Reimagining Bilingual Education Renaissance Resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I'd like to introduce Deputy Superintendent Vanessa Romero. And before I did say it correctly, right? Okay. I just want to mention that you all recall that you passed that resolution, I think it was last year, right? And very excited to share what's transpired.
Thank you, President Abeyta, members of the board, Superintendent Garcia. Super excited to provide an update from the amazing team, our Executive Director, Daniel Pastrana, on some of the expansion and the innovation and working directly with teachers and principals and providing lots of professional development. And so we're super excited to share with you.
Good evening, Board President Abeyta, board members, Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia, district leadership, and public. It's an honor to have a few moments to share with you some updates on our bilingual renaissance. As Dr. Garcia just shared, on January 25th of 2024, to be exact, you all unanimously passed, and I appreciate and thank you for doing so, a resolution to highlight the importance of bilingual education in the reimagining process. Bilingual education, as we all know, can be a wonderful way to not just maintain but attract families to our district. And I just call out the two statements that come at the bottom of this resolution that state, the superintendent is charged with directing his staff to fully develop and implement a framework and a plan for launching a renaissance, reimagination, and expansion of access to bilingual education and addressing the needs of English language learners. And number two, the superintendent is also charged to direct staff to develop a multi-pronged communications plan as it relates to bilingual education, programming, and access. And so I just really quickly want to call to attention our vision for biliteracy and bilingualism that was crafted by a committee that met for 2 years, composed of all of our dual language principals, teacher representatives, as well as district leadership. And I'll just read it out loud briefly. As educators of SFPS, we create a transformative learning environment that honors the opportunity to become bilingual and biliterate. We promote lifelong learning by providing students with culturally relevant, high-quality instruction. With expectations and a focus on standards of excellence, we empower our students to be engaged members of our community. And so we took this statement, which is a lofty statement that we envision accomplishing over the course of 3 to 5 years, and put it to action. I won't read this slide because of time right now, but this is our theory of action of how we brought it to life or proposed to bring to life. And I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague, Holly Call, who is our elementary English learner specialist, who will give us a breakdown of what we've done.
Okay. Good evening, Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia, President Abeyta, and board members and student board member, my past student in 8th grade. I am honored to be here. I'm really excited to share a little bit about what we've done this year with the language and culture team. So here we go. I think the biggest piece of our work this year has been our professional development with 6 dual language schools. This professional development it comes in a couple different pieces. It goes over a variety of days at one school site. The first piece is helping teachers understand the connection between the district's priority standards and the high-quality instructional materials that they use to teach literacy. Another component at the beginning of our cycle is looking at the 4 research-based instructional strategies that are foundational skills, text complexity, text-based responses, and knowledge coherence, and showing teachers how those, when systematically taught literacy, can really bridge across 2 languages. The last part of our multi-day PD is my favorite part. Our professional development is very interactive and hands-on with the teachers, but the last part includes modeling by our team in classrooms with their students, using these strategies and the high-quality instructional materials, and then passing that torch on to the teachers at the schools, where then they model for their colleagues using these strategies, what they've learned in the professional development, and as well as using high-quality instructional materials. And the final piece of our professional development is a learning walk that collects some data, gathers data from the school to look at trends that are happening, to celebrate all the wonderful things that are happening at that school, as well as look at possible next steps for the school. Okay, so As I mentioned, we are working with 6 schools this year. We have our last school, our 6th final school. We're going to be working with Ortiz Middle School next week. But I wanted to give you some numbers with our professional development. The first one is we have given 18 hours of professional development this year with those 5 schools so far. We have modeled 20 lessons across K through 6th grade at those 5 schools. We have facilitated 21 peer-to-peer lesson observations for those teachers at our schools. And we have done 32 classes have been visited where that data was collected in those non-evaluative learning walk, and using a learning walk protocol, excuse me. We also wanted to share some of the spending of funds. We were rewarded and thank you. When I was practicing earlier, I know I'm going to forget that. We were rewarded and invested $43,000 in the creation of a document that I believe you all have in front of you. We passed 2 documents, board members and superintendent. I'm talking about the one that is multicolored. It's pink and blue on the bottom. And this document was created to really help teachers look at instruction in both languages. The blue part at the bottom is in English, and the pink part is at the top is in Spanish. And teachers really can see day by day what they're going to be teaching week by week, and this helps tremendously with the what, and allows teachers then to focus on the how of what they're teaching in their classroom. The district also used ESSER funds to extend 13 visas of teachers from Mexico and Spain, really showing the commitment, the district showing the commitment to the valuable skill set of those teachers. And then finally, we spent a large amount of money with Title III carryover funds to purchase from Vista Higher Learning secondary materials to teach their English language development classes. I wish I had my water bottle. Okay. All right, the last slide I'm going to look at and present to you today before I pass it off to Julia Hoffman is some of our celebrations. Our first celebration happened back in January at Salazar Elementary, and we presented to 40 parents, 40 families that came to learn more about their options in the district for bilingual education. And 10 bilingual schools were there with tables to highlight their bilingual programming. It was a huge success. Excellent, excellent. The second that I wanted to talk about was Mr. Pastrana's bilingual podcast, or podcast in Espanol. He's done 5. If you've missed them, try to check them out. They're great. He talks about, again, the highlights of our bilingual schools, as well as just the aspects of bilingualism. And finally, we just are finishing up with 2 exciting events that Rosario talked about earlier, because she was a judge. But we had, let's see the numbers, almost 200 seniors, graduating seniors this year, that are going to be graduating with the honor of the bilingual seal. And that's a 62 increase from last year. And I don't want to forget our awesome 8th graders in middle school who achieved the Bilingual Pathway Award. There was 159 8th graders, and it's an incredible increase. I don't know if 8th graders are getting the word around to do their bilingual pathway, but that's an 87% increase since last year. Pretty cool. Thank you. Now pass it off to Julia Hoffman and get some water. Thank you, board.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. My name is Julia Hoffman. Before we share some details on some shifts that we've supported in 2 specific schools, I wanted to draw your attention to this list of our dual language elementary schools. We have 5 of them, and as you can see, our student enrollment compared to last year has increased in all 5 of them, specifically at Salazar, like Alyssa had explained. I also want to show you the bilingual strand and English-only strands, because 4 out of the 5 schools offer English-only strands currently, with El Camino Real Academy being the only one that is only dual language. And you can see that the ratios differ, but there are some schools, specifically Sweeney, that has a very low enrollment in their English-only strand. And as a result, there have had to be 3 different English-only combo classes, so that's kindergarten, 1st grade, 1 class, 2nd, 3rd is another class, and 4th and 5th. We all know, especially as educators, how difficult combo classes can be, but then imagine trying to do that across 2 languages. As you can see at Salazar, we have 2 combo classes that are dual language. So over the past 2 years, the teachers in our dual language community have faced some challenges. Like I said, a disproportionate number of combo classes in our dual language schools, especially in the south side of town. There are many classrooms that are staffed with teachers who are forced to teach in a language that they're not comfortable with. Holly mentioned teachers coming from Spain and Mexico who are very skilled in educating students in Spanish, are often forced to also teach in English. There are some misunderstandings regarding how to teach biliteracy based on program models, so 50-50 versus 80-20. And we have heard from teachers that there's a need for feedback on instruction. They want to see modeling from the district, as well as other instructional support in both English and in Spanish.
So I'd like to just show everyone how we've addressed these issues, starting with the misunderstandings around how to best teach biliteracy, whether in an 80-20 or a 50-50 model, and that very legitimate need for context-specific professional development and support for our teachers teaching in 2 languages. We've already spoken about our model to support all of our bilingual schools through professional development, so I won't harp on that. You've seen that we've invested in the documents that Julia and Holly were highlighting, and I do want to say that we took our priority standards and aligned them to the modules within our high-quality instruction materials, and then module by module, week by week, lesson by lesson, broke down for 80-20 and 50-50 what is taught in English, what is taught in Spanish in a systematic and intentional way. That has never existed. I've been in dual language education for since 2005, and as a teacher and as an administrator, I've never had that, so I'm really excited to bring that to our community. And then one of the things we're most excited about is the creation of a dual language instructional coach role that will be housed at each dual language school. This coach will be supported by both the Language and Culture Department and the Curriculum and Instruction Department, and we know that the impact of that consistent weekly feedback, modeling, and coaching is really going to make a tremendous impact, and we are super, super grateful and excited to have this position locked in for next year. I wanted to talk about 2 schools in particular, Sweeney and Cesar Chavez, to talk about the issues regarding the disproportionate number of combination classes, as well as classrooms that might not be staffed with what we're calling teachers who are teaching in their language of strength, right? The language that they feel most comfortable in and are most trained in. And so at Sweeney, we're shifting to a 50-50 model from an 80-20 model. What does that mean? That means that students from the beginning of their time in kindergarten through their graduation in 5th grade will have equal amounts of time to learn both languages at the same time in an intentional way. That's a longer runway for students and much more opportunity for success with meeting the goal of being bilingual and biliterate. And given the small number of English-only students in the English-only strand that has caused this kind of perpetual cycle of combination classes of K1 combo, 2-3 combo, 4-5 combo, we're going to phase out the English-only strand. So the incoming kindergarten class will participate in dual language. Our 5th graders who are graduating will move on to middle school, and approximately 20 to 30 families will be given the choice of entering dual language, or as you will see in a moment, having the option of going to another English-only strand. Similar situation with Cesar Chavez, a shift to a 50-50 model with the attention on the staffing and with the opportunity to learn both languages from kindergarten through 5th grade, and then absorbing any students who choose to continue in English only, but that were from Sweeney. I did want to give a quick note on a question that gets raised often. Folks who are familiar with research will say that the ideal situation for any dual language program is what's called a 2-way population, equal numbers of Spanish speakers, equal numbers of English speakers. And I just wanted to point out that in our district, we have 3,450 students who are considered emergent bilingual, or as the state calls it, ELL students. And that number continues to grow. And 10% of that population, or about 350, are newcomer students who have more beginning English or no English. The rest of our students, the majority of our students, actually have a wide range of linguistic abilities. Many of our students come from Spanish-speaking households, but actually have equal command over both languages, and some who are being raised in Spanish-speaking households also even prefer our English dominant. So we need to take all that in consideration We've also had this year, thanks to the tremendous outreach of our principals and our department as well, more families registering for dual language programs who are English dominant than we've ever seen before. We personally helped register many of the families, and we're super excited to see families that were at our showcase coming and saying, yes, I want to choose Ramirez-Thomas. Yes, I want to choose Salazar. Yes, I want to choose Sweeney. Super, super exciting. So I just note that I would argue that we are neither a one-way population, nor are we fully at a two-way population, but I'm going to coin a term, you heard it here first, 1.5-way population. We are making our way there, and I feel very confident and very secure in our decision to move towards a 50-50 and know that we have the population to support it. Our final slide, of course, our work doesn't just end this year. We've taken this task and this call to the bilingual renaissance very seriously, but we are going to continue with our cycles of professional development with our dual language schools. We are very, very excited to train, support, and work with our dual language instructional coaches. We are going to continue to support English language development instruction across the district, but particularly focusing on secondary and newcomer students because those are areas that have not received as much attention as they should. And then continued collaboration with all departments, but specifically curriculum and instruction, because we really want to align any school-facing support so that we're working together and in unity. So that is our brief but intense update for you on what we've done in the past year. Thank you so much for listening, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions that are raised.
Questions from the board? Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta, staff for the presentation. I wish we weren't short on time because I would much rather talk about this for a longer amount of time. I appreciate all of the information that you provided. I love the work being done since we passed that resolution. I have some difficult questions to ask, and I'm going to do my best to just say that acknowledging all of the incredible work and that I'm not an expert in this, but I do have some questions. On page 9, you know, and several times throughout the presentation, but you talked about, you know, the visa teachers from Spain and Mexico. Do you have a breakdown of what those teachers, what the population looks like? Do you know off the top of your head?
In terms of which countries they're represented? 7 from Mexico, and then the remaining, let's see, it was 13, so the remaining 5 were from Spain.
Okay. And is there, like, I'm imagining that it's like everything else in education, you kind of, your choices are limited. Is that accurate, would you say, in this population? Are there opportunities to prioritize teachers who are from the country of origin of our students?
Absolutely. Great question. And we have a vetting process that we've used that we started last year for any teacher who requests an extension for a visa, because it's an investment financially on the district's end, but we also want to recognize where they're from. Cultural and linguistic responsiveness is a huge piece of what we do as educators and as a part of our department, so we do take into account where a teacher is from. We also take into account principal recommendation. The teachers has to have a recommendation from the principal. They have to have 3 classroom observations that we judge on a rubric, and an interview with the person themselves. And in that, the conversation of culture, cultural relevance, cultural linguistic connection with students is most definitely taken into account. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that's taken into account. I just would, as positions open up, let's continue to work on representation, because that really matters, that students are able to connect with people from their home countries. So am I hearing the solutions that you all are working on sound like I'm switching tacks here a little bit. We're working to reduce the combo classes, is that correct?
That's correct. If all goes as well, we'll eliminate all combo classes between Sweeney and Cesar Chavez next year, which is a really, really big accomplishment, and look towards, again, what we're kind of coining as staffing more effectively and smarter. Not just eliminating combo, but having students have teachers teaching in their language of strength. So yes.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. Can you remind me, because I know we've gotten more details about 80-20 and 50-50 and past presentations, is 50-50 of moving those schools to 50-50 a reduction in, the bilingual education that they're getting currently as a way to kind of balance the combo classes? That's a shift.
Yeah, great question. Not at all. So 80-20 and 50-50 models have the same end goal, which is to graduate students who are biliterate, bilingual, that are academically proficient, and that have sociocultural competence. The big difference between the two is starting literacy in home language, in this case Spanish for the majority of kinder, first, and second, versus giving that time to simultaneously learn both languages. But ultimately the goal is the same. And to be completely honest and transparent, both models have been successful nationwide. You and I will hear, I have my own opinions, and you'll hear differing opinions on which one is best. This decision, as we mentioned, has been something that we've been talking about for the past 2 years with our leadership team and with the former superintendent as well. And a lot of thought has gone into it, but the actual driving force is to ensure that we meet those end goals of having students graduate biliterate and bilingual, which, to be completely, again, fair and transparent and honest, we're not meeting currently.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question, sort of related to that, is it sounds wonderful to have instructional coaches to help support this program, period. And if we're short on teachers ever, my hope is that we're using people who have those skills and talents to be classroom teachers and not instructional coaches. So that's more just a comment, especially as we're talking about budget, as we're talking about, teacher absences and vacancies. That's just a comment for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Bose.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I have a question. Do you have bilingual tutors working with students after school or during class time as well?
So we have many wonderful bilingual volunteers who work both during and after school. And we also have partnered with Near Peer in the past, which provides us with our current students who are high school students, many of whom are bilingual, who have participated both in tutoring after school, but as well as our 2 summer programs that we run for newcomer students and for Spanish immersion. It's an area of growth, I won't lie, and one that we continue to look toward, but yes.
Thank you. Good.
Vice President Noble.
Thank you, President Abeyta, and thank you very much to the team for the presentation. I really appreciate the follow-up, and really just have a comment that it seems like we've got to keep talking about this as people understand the benefits of bilingualism. I know we didn't go through that in this presentation, and I won't reiterate all of that, but many of us know how important it is in our daily lives, in this community, in the world we live in. And of course, there's the brain science that we heard about when we passed this resolution and all of that. So I appreciate the outreach, the showcase that you all did. It does seem like the word is getting out there, and I hope we just can continue to do that, because as I'm sure you all know, these things sometimes take a minute, and it really is a challenge. No one, of course, knows what they don't know, and I really appreciate all that you've been doing in terms of podcasts and outreach to get the word out, and I really see that is a crucial part of this growth, and it's good for education. So thank you for that work, and please do keep going.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay, so I think that concludes our presentation. Oh, Dr. Garcia, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Pastrana, team. I just want to remind the board and the public that this came out of a long process of community engagement where our families told us they wanted a bilingual program. Not only immigrant families, but families in general want their children to be bilingual and see the benefit of all the brain science and everything else of the educational outcomes that come from being bilingual. So I want to commend the board, for going through that process, and then the committee that prioritized these strategic initiatives, but your action by creating a resolution that that you all approved rather, could show when we focus the work with great intention, look at how this has grown. And, from that act to this, and, great leadership on the instructional team, and I know you all don't do it by yourselves, but congratulations. It's just brings me such joy, right, to see how this is growing and continuing to grow. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you so much. We truly appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have some action items this evening. The first item is acceptance of Sunflower Bank donation for the stay-at-home fundraiser. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to introduce our Chief Community Engagement Officer. I always like to call her Cristal Ibarra, but she goes by Crystal Ibarra.
Good evening, President Abeyta, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Garcia. We would like to start by requesting that the board accept the generous donation of $8,000 from Sunflower Bank, also known as First National Bank, in our stay-at-home fundraiser that was recently launched by Interim Superintendent Garcia. This will help fund our 15 annual events, which include community engagement, community support, staff recognition, and appreciation events. With this, Sunflower will get recognition on our website as well as at all of our events throughout the year. We would like to extend a thanks to Sunflower Bank and thank you for being here tonight. The representative, Domingo Ortiz, has been a wonderful support and partner through this process. Here to present the check to the Board of Education is Christine Munoz, Dolores Overton, and Scott Zarznik. And Ms. Overton, I believe, would like to address the board if the board is open to that.
Yes.
Thank you.
President Abeyta, board members, Interim Superintendent Dr. Garcia. My name is Dolores Overton, and I am the Santa Fe Market President for First National 1870, a division of Sunflower Bank. And tonight I have with me Christine Munoz, who is our Mortgage Branch Manager, and Scott Zarniak, and that's a very hard name, it took me a while, who is our Northern New Mexico Regional President. Just a few comments. We have had a relationship with Santa Fe Public Schools for 62 years, and we are very proud of this relationship. It's not just banking services, it is partnership and programs that benefit the staff, the students, the faculty. And I wanted to take a moment just to talk about some of these programs. The first one is a workplace banking program, and that has been specifically designed for Santa Fe Public Schools employees. It's banking, and that will be rolling out here very soon. We're very excited about that. Christine, on our mortgage side, we have a HEROES program, and in that program, we offer closing cost credits on mortgage loans to educators. And one of my favorites is our ABC program. And that program pays for aides to students directly and also makes a donation to the school district. And tonight, in addition to our $8,000, I have a check for $845 for fourth quarter that I will be presenting also. And last but not least, we've got our big check there. We are very proud to be the premier community sponsor for the stay-at-home fundraiser with our $8,000 donation. So thank you for the partnership, thank you for the relationship, and we look forward to many, many more years of working together.
Thank you. Dr. Garcia.
I just wanted to share something, a little anecdote. So we had, I don't know if you remember, where we had a little glitch in payroll. Somebody was out and somehow our employees didn't get paid or weren't going to get paid. And a good number of them get paid from your bank. And I remember calling, and you can actually talk to people that are going to help you, and they actually advanced the money and trusted that the wire would come so that our employees could get paid on time. And it's not every day that you can pick up the phone and make things like that happen, and that was Sunflower Bank. And so thank you
for that.
so much. Fabulous.
Thank you. We feel as being here for 155 years. That's where the 1870 comes, because if anybody's curious. And, you know, being a partner here means being able to do these types of transactions because we know the relationship, we know the people that are involved, and this is how we hope to be here another 150 years or 55 years. I probably won't be around, but I'm really proud to be just a little part of the legacy of our community. So thank you all, and we're hoping we can have a photo op.
Sure. You want to go? We'll take a step. We'll come down to the front of the dais here and take a picture.
And Interim Superintendent Garcia, I'd like to also welcome up Ruth Perez, who is our Event and Engagement Specialist. She is the one that coordinates all these efforts.
Okay, we have accepted, do we need to officially accept it? And can I have a motion to accept the Sunflower Bank donation?
President Abeyta, I move to accept the $8,000 donation from Sunflower Bank with the note that they are very generous and we really appreciate it.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we have acceptance of a Nusenda donation to purchase back-to-school supplies.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Yes, this request is to accept the generous donation of $15,000 from Nusenda Credit Union. This contribution will be in support of our school supplies for our district's annual back-to-school supply giveaway. This supports roughly 1,200 students, K through 12. We have shared an invitation with Nusenda, and we will be sharing it with the board to do a formal check presentation at the event itself, which will be in late July.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the Nusenda donation?
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item C, reallocation of the 2021 general obligation bond funds.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like Deputy Superintendent Wagner to introduce this item.
Good evening. Thank you, Board President, board members, Superintendent. This item is something that the Community Review Committee has reviewed on behalf of the board, and I think Board Member Bose will be speaking to the item this evening. But just a reminder, it is normal and customary to bring changes to our general obligation bond allocations as we execute the bond cycle. So we're nearing the end of our last bond cycle and finishing up projects, initiating final projects, and we have to shore up our finances around project expenditures. And this is an example of how we bring that to the board and show accountability for any changes we've made to the initial allocation. So Board Member Bose, would you like to represent the committee and present the item?
I'm happy to represent the committee, President Abeyta, fellow board members, Superintendent Dr. Garcia. As you can see, the Community Review Committee is suggesting to the board to reallocate $236,208 to close out the Ortiz Middle School project. I think we're all fairly familiar with the layout of Ortiz, and basically the original plan was that as work was done on each wing of the building, that students would just move around, and to a certain extent that was able to happen, but as it got closer, some of the staff had concerns, and so they ended up getting portables so that there was less moving around that had to happen. So that is where this cost came from. You'll see on the third page there, the 267 whatnot, minus the original allocation leaves that amount difference. That is a fixed cost. There will be no additional costs associated with finishing up this project.
Okay, questions from the board? Vice President Noble.
I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item D is our 2025 New Mexico School Board Association Student Scholarship Nomination. Board Member Bose.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Let's see. The purpose of the NMSBA Scholarship Program is to encourage and promote the attainment of higher education and career technical education goals for students who have demonstrated a high level of leadership, academic achievement, community involvement, and extracurricular activity participation during high school. The board, in accordance with this, is submitting one student scholarship nomination for consideration at the state level. And of course, we had several applications, but, and this is a difficult decision because we have very, very talented and exceptional students in our district. But we have selected Christina Montoya from Santa Fe High School as our nominee for this scholarship. She will be attending UNM and studying to be a veterinarian in the fall. She is an honor roll student and a volunteer at multiple places in the community. She was described in her nomination form as being the epitome of a good human, and I think that's worth honoring. We wish her all our luck in her future endeavors. Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I move that we approve that nomination from Santa Fe High School.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Romero will present the calendar to you.
Thank you, President Abeyta, members of the board, Superintendent Garcia. In front of you, I think you all have a copy. We have developed a calendar. It's gone through several vetting with cabinet and with people in curriculum and instruction and the assistant superintendents. We wanted to, of course, honor the 1140 instructional hours. That's a requirement by the state. So we have that. We have 175 instructional days We also have an additional 6 days of professional development and planning for teachers at the beginning of the year in January and then at the end of the year. We also, just some minor changes, wanted to also say we tried to keep the same holidays and days off for staff. People really liked the day off, or I'm sorry, the week off for Thanksgiving, so that remains the same. One shift was pushing back our spring break to begin the very last week of March and to move into the first week of April. With that, one reason, of course, is because of testing. Testing begins in March, and we feel like providing our school sites with a good chunk of time to complete all the testing and makeups before spring break is super helpful. So that's one shift, and also Rio Rancho, APS, and Los Alamos have also done the same. They've shifted their spring break. Something new that we have not done, the feedback is always that April and May are very long months with no breaks. So we shifted and placed 2 days off in May, the 1st and the 4th, so that there is a long weekend just for everybody to catch their breath before the end of the school year. But once again, we followed all the requirements by the state of 1140 instructional hours. That includes 60 hours of professional development in elementary and 30 hours that's required by the state for secondary, and that is included within the 6 days for teacher planning and professional development. But it also, those professional development and planning days are included in our early releases. So early release on Wednesdays for secondary and the early release on Fridays. And I stand for questions.
Questions from the board? Can I have a motion?
I'll move approval of the calendar, 2025-2026.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, item F is E-rate Form 470, application 25001518 for wireless access points district-wide.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like for Dr. Neil Weaver to make this presentation or proposal.
Good evening. President Abeyta, members of the board, Superintendent Garcia. What we have in front of us is the technology department put out an RFP, request for proposal, for the replacement of over 500 wireless access points in 11 of our schools. The reason for the replacement is this is part of our normal out-of-date life cycle for these devices, and it also upgrades the capacity of our wireless systems. We received 5 proposals. 2 of those were eliminated because they did not meet the requirements. 3 were evaluated, and of those 3, the selection was for CDWG. It's good to note that the district will spend $492,000 for this project, and when it's finished, E-rate will refund $393,000, meaning that a nearly $500,000 project cost the district just over $100,000. And the recommendation is to approve the selection of CDWG as the vendor for this project.
Okay, do we have any questions or a motion?
President Abeyta, I move approval, acceptance of CDWG as being the vendor to replace our wireless access points.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we have 3 items on consent: budget adjustment requests, contracts over $60,000, and minutes from the March 13th regular meeting. Is there any item that we need clarification on? 1, 2, or 3?
President Abeyta, I don't need to pull anything out. I did want to just make a couple notes on our contracts for board approval. There is money, a large chunk of GO bond money from our previous cycle to start the construction of the new Mandela School, which I know we have all been following closely, just in time for Lucas to graduate. But thank you for your advocacy nonetheless. And also a shout out to increases for nurses to help run summer immunization work. That's very, very important in preventing diseases. So that's all. Move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so that brings us to board discussion and possible action. The first item is a board budget priorities and proposed timeline. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I think you all have a copy of the presentation. And so, and the audience can see it, and I believe it's online. I'm not going to read every slide to you. I'm sure you're really sad about that. We have a timeline here that we're going to discuss, I believe, in advanced planning. So I'm not going to go through it, but you can see all the work that has been done by staff. Slides 3 and slides 4 will tell you all the wonderful things that are offered at Spring Budget Workshop, and we're well represented by our teams at the conference this week. What are we waiting for? Let's go to slide 5. House Bill 2, that's what funds us, right? And I don't know if from the time this was printed this afternoon, and since I've been sitting here, does anybody know if she signed House Bill 2 yet? And our general counsel and legislative liaison has said no. So this is what we believe, that there will be a raise for all educational employees, an average of 4%. We have a unit value that has increased by 3.77%. Now, you would think it would be easy enough for me to just do the math and say, we're going to have that much extra money. But we don't know yet because the funding formula has a variety of factors, as listed there, that are still subject to change. We do know that the levels have increased by, for teachers, 55, level 2, 65, and level 3, 75. Yay, we're getting closer to professional salaries, right? Let's go to slide 6. Do please feel free to stop me because I know you're tired and I'm flying because I want to save time for you to give your input. Yes?
It's not a question, but I did just want to note for everyone who didn't follow along super closely, there were some really good ideas around changing the funding formula and a recognition for the complex work that high school teachers do and, making adjustments for that as well as career and technical education programs.
And it looks like, Mr. President, if I may, it looks like General Counsel wants to chime in here.
Board President Abeyta, board members, Dr. Garcia. The increase to the SEG on that last slide did pass in House Bill 63, so just to let you know.
Which one?
If you go to the previous slide,
Uh-huh.
the first bullet point, funding formula, the one that was drafted by Romero and Senator Mamie Stewart, that has been passed and signed by the governor.
In terms of the unit value, I still
Yeah,
am not following.
The
unit
first
value?
one, funding formula, that's basically a
the
reflection
4%?
of House Bill 63, and it has
Okay,
passed. It
very
has
good.
been signed by the governor.
Excellent. So we have that much. Okay. The 910B5, those of you that are familiar with when we plug everything in there, is still not resolved. I talked to our interim CFO shortly before this meeting, who was at Spring Budget Workshop, and that still is not done. If we go to page 6, you will see minimum salaries for school nurses, and provides a factor for national board certified school nurses. Vocational ed teachers also will see the same minimum salaries. And then it was mentioned earlier about the cell phones and electronic devices. The board already has a proposal on cell phone use. It may want to revisit it. 10 million is not going to go very far when you consider 89 districts and 90-some charter schools. It's a drop in the bucket, but we'll apply if we're eligible to do so. Well, the governor has until tomorrow, right, to sign it. So we anxiously await. Capital outlay requests, you can see that the amounts that we were awarded. Not going to read those to you, but we're happy and excited about that. Growing Up New Mexico, which we're the fiscal sponsor for that, for Connie, received $2 million, and NDI, we're also the fiscal sponsor, received $1 million also to renovate the barns. Okay, here's the stuff that we'll start looking at more in depth, and I can talk about it again another time. And this is on slide 9. So where we are with enrollment for the 40th, 80th, and unconfirmed for the 120th at 10,391 students. The average of the 80th and the 20th will be the number used for funding. Okay. And it says to include ridership. And I guess, are we talking here ridership for transportation? I'm just asking staff. Okay, thank you. So in 24-25, we were funded for 10,708 students. So you can see that we have a decline. I can tell you that staff in those meetings that I showed you earlier, where they met with all the departments and the principals of their schools, found about $500,000 in reduction due to declining enrollment. However, that may not be a wash. So we can't necessarily say, oh, yay, we already cut 500 to make up for declining enrollment, so that'll offset the funding. The initial and final unit value, this obviously has changed here. And then the teacher cost index, looks like we have a change there by a fraction. And then we have our vacancies in terms of comparisons, May of 24, and now we look at where we're at now. The school calendar was just presented to you. I do want to mention that we're back in court, right? So, and I don't know when that'll be adjudicated. Is it possible, General Counsel, that this may potentially change for next year, or do you think that it'll stay in place and then any changes will be in, what, 26, 27? So at least we can breathe easy for next year. If we go to slide 12, it's just a historical for you to get a sense, in case you're new to the board, like Board Member Heffron, the bond and levy schedule and cycle, right, for the periods of years and when we'll be going up. So in November, and you'll start doing that work soon, you'll be going out for HB 33, mill levy, and GO bond. Okay, those will be your elections, your ballot initiatives for that year. Slide 12 tells you what is passed in November 23, 13 million. HB 33 was 8.5 million. And the GO bond sale in 2025 generated that amount of revenue, 22 million in total, which included Mandela. Any questions on those slides? All right, let's go to 13. You can see your mill levy spending by object category. And I wanted to say, I didn't do that, but hopefully you saw up front the whole team that worked on this. I didn't do this all by myself. There's no way I could have, but we have a wonderful team helping. I want to say that Robert Martinez is playing a very active role, still as consultant, in working with interim CFO Beverly Aguilar. She's not here tonight because she has early morning spring budget workshop stuff, and we thought it was in her best interest for her to stay there. Okay, ETN and E-rate. So this tells us that the current cycle includes 5 years. It goes through 28-29, 55 million, 11 million annually, 9 million to the district. And your next action would be November of 2028 on ETN. And then, of course, E-rate. Any questions on that page? This slide 15 should have been pulled out. Is it in yours still? This is really not applicable anymore, an artifact that should have been removed. All right, let's go to page 16. So this is sort of your operating budget currently at a glance. And so this is when we look at operating budget, and I'll go over that with you more in depth, Board Member Heffron. The operating budget includes these components. The SEG and everything else, when we talk about the funding formula in the 910B5, is the operational budget. And then all of these other components are included in the overall operating budget. Okay. 489 million, it's a lot of money that you all are responsible for. Yes, ma'am.
Superintendent, when I look at grants and awards, that 30 million figure, are those dependent only on state and local funds, not federal, or are those impacted perhaps by cuts in federal funding?
It can include federal funding, it most likely does.
Okay.
And so we are aware, right now, we have not seen that we're necessarily going to be cut. It looks like it's allocated, will be allocated out of different departments. The statutory requirements are still there. So at this point, we're moving forward as though that funding were going to be there. The state, I think, is also planning that perhaps they may need a special session to cover. I really don't know. I think that is a big question that's still up in the air. I don't know. We won't know until really September, I would think, for sure, because the federal fiscal year begins in October. And you're looking at me, Mr. Granada. Did you want to say anything? Yes, he does.
Board President Abeyta, members of the board. Just to say, I was at the budget workshop today, and a lot of members of the legislature were there talking about this very issue. And basically, they just wanted to reinforce that, they're aware of what's going on, they're planning for what's going on, but basically, we can't really do anything until whatever cuts will come. One thing of note, though, is that Senator Munoz was pointing to cash reserves in school districts and saying, school districts are going to have to use those cash reserves first before the state steps it up. And so just that's something to keep in mind. I know that ours isn't as high as some others in the state, and I think that's what they're pointing at, is some of those school districts with really high cash reserves. So just keep that in mind.
And we've had this discussion with you before, that they don't like they've done cash sweeps and they'll take it, right? Because their philosophy, and rightfully so, is your cash balance is for emergencies. And you should be spending your money on the students and not building the piggy bank. So that is something that we will take into consideration. I think we have a policy that it should be at around 5%, and we have had to dip below when we've been short, but I don't think we want to go too much above that either. So we'll see, and of course people would want to plan for federal cuts and keep your cash balance high, but if they sweep it, kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? So I think sticking with your board policy makes the most sense, or at least would be my advice to the board. So now I could say, like, why are you taking us down memory lane? And there's a good reason, because I think this will help inform where you want to go with your priorities of where you've been, what has been accomplished or not, what is still important to you. And so let's look at slide 17. So you had a retreat in January of 24, and these were your priorities, okay? To be an employer of choice, to continue improvement in HR, improve relations and partnerships with the county and the city, commit to being patient regarding superintendent initiatives and seeing initiatives through, supporting the educational expertise of staff, update the strategic plan integration with the SFPS reimagining process. And so if you recall, we spent a year getting priorities from the community, and from that came the bilingual ed, the middle school reimagining, student engagement, which we want to tell you the amazing things that have come out of that resolution that you passed. And middle school reimagining got a little bit slowed down because I made a shift in my position to this. And the schools of innovation, right? So a lot of that came out of those strategic initiatives that was to be, I think, the basis for your strategic plan. Organize the foundation for the district was on here. Your AI policy, which I'm not certain that happened or not. Continue work on career pathways. Continue to address mental health issues and social emotional learning. I did a little update on that today, but that work needs to continue. Work on family engagement and empowerment at the site levels. And community and family engagement. There was a study session, and all of these things also came up as priorities for the board. I remember counselors and nurses was a big deal, and I think you've continued that. Employee insurance premium increases, that has been a priority for the board. Attendance stipends for site-level attendance teams, NDI, cooking with kids, communities and schools. So you have priorities that I think still are your priorities. Maybe they're not. Maybe they've changed, and maybe you have new priorities. So I hope this little walk down memory lane might help the conversation tonight about priorities that you want us to consider as we build the budget for 25, 26, which seems weird to say those years, right?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Garcia. Members of the board, comments, questions, Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, Superintendent and President Abeyta. I'm not sure, quite frankly, how this might apply to budget considerations, but I'm hoping we would develop, if we don't have already, social media policy. Has that come to the board previously and gone anywhere, or is that something that's viable? And I'm not sure, once again, if it's attached to budget.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Board Member Heffron, I'm not sure if you're meaning social, I don't think it really ties to the budget.
Okay.
Depending on what you're talking about.
Right.
I don't know if we have a social media policy in place at present. I don't think we do. There might be something about staff, possibly, but I don't recall. And I don't know if you're referring to staff or students or what.
Primarily students and teachers as well, quite frankly, and admin.
So it's a complex issue. I think it's
Yes.
something we can discuss because there's a crossover there or with First Amendment rights and whatnot.
I was
So-
just notified today, for instance, a friend of mine, a teacher in Carlsbad, whose husband and son were attacked falsely in social media, accusing them of all kinds of things. Parents went into an uproar in the community, all false.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm raising it as an example.
All right. We will discuss that at staff and bring that back, but I'm not sure it really ties to budget.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Oh, Mr. President, I forgot
Yes.
to mention that from a staff level, I will be bringing something around substitute teachers.
Okay, great. Any other, Vice President Noble?
So, I think we do, we've talked about the timeline and the meetings, and I know we'll go through that and look at it on advanced planning. I do think that is pretty important. I think today we're meant to be talking about our priorities, and I very much appreciate the historical perspective. It's really helpful. And I guess, just picking a sort of magic number of 3 to start the discussion, because it's hard, and sometimes we do create these sort of long lists of priorities. I'm going to go 3 with a bonus 1, but 1, I think we always have to focus on, and I'm going to lump the top 2 together, HR and being an employer of choice. If we can't hire good people, we can't do anything. So always thinking about that, our representation, how we get the folks that we need to reflect our student population and, really be the adults that guide our young learners and unlock that curiosity that is, I think, the primary role of our district in education, to create that environment, and we need the people. I also think we have to continue to address mental health issues and social emotional learning, skipping to the bottom, and work on family engagement and empowerment at site levels. So between hiring, being a great place to work and doing our best there, mental health, social, emotional, and family engagement and empowerment at site levels. And this is less to me of a budget priority. I think it's just something we have to do. We need a new strategic plan. And in part because Dr. Garcia has stepped into this role. The reimagining process was meant to be the foundation of a new strategic plan, and we need to complete that work. It's time. I don't think it has to be cumbersome. You can get swirled around in strategic plan work, but the fact is the board, superintendent, and district need to do the work to set clear direction for this district. So I guess I would put that one as a sort of asterisk that I just think it has to be part of our work in the upcoming year. Thank you.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I had taken some notes prior to getting to these 2 pages, and I sort of, in my brain, did what Vice President Noble did and started making, buckets of these things. We got real specific there, and I think we can zoom out a little bit. Along with the staffing, I put substitutes into that, right? Like, we have to, that is part of meaningful teacher retention. If we're burning them out, then that doesn't do any good. So of the concerns that we've heard, I would ask that we give special attention to that as well. And then the family engagement piece, I also linked with improve relations and partnerships with the city and county. Like, this is community engagement. We say it all the time, it takes a village. And these are our business partners, and these are our extracurricular people that are all listed on the family engagement study session page. How we connect with families and make schools feel like safe places where kids can thrive, that's a win-win. And that ties, of course, into the only other thing I would add, yes, to the mental health. Sorry, I'm going to add 4. the student outcomes. I mean, looking at proficiency and again, all of these things are towards that end, of course. But the attendance coaches, we've made such great strides, and I would just hate to see that fall off. Our CTE programs, our education, all of these pathways that we have, they all keep students engaged and help them with their learning and their pathway outside of school. So those are my priorities. Thank you.
Board Member Heffron.
I'm not sure if it's relevant at this particular point. However, we're always talking about, and it's been brought to our attention again tonight many times, we're 50th in reading and math at school levels. Is that a board priority to include now, to focus on the improvement of those two subject areas in our schools? Can that be spelled out here in these priorities?
I think it's inherent in the work, and in our previous strategic plan, there were benchmarks there. I think we could go back and revisit it. We had a 5-year plan.
Okay.
And it had very clear benchmarks for literacy and for mathematics, which I think you can revisit as part of your strategic planning. But that was front and central there.
Okay.
The other thing that I was thinking about resolutions can seem like, but if you really take them seriously and there is, real focus, there's nothing to say that you could not have alongside your strategic plan a whole resolution around making it a year of literacy. And what would that look like? And really focusing the attention because it brings intentionality to the work. I mean, of course it depends on your leadership and how people, are you going to take a resolution and put it on the shelf? But those things do matter. And I think when you hear about what's happened with student engagement from the resolution that you and Dr. Gonzalez, Mr. President, worked on, you're going to be impressed of all the cool things that have happened because of bringing intentionality. And obviously, literacy is hugely important. And, we've heard about from that teacher that talked about the high school students not reading. We have kids, immigrant families and children that come to us in high school with low proficiency that haven't been with us all the way through, right? And so I think there's a lot to be said for that. So I think you can approach it through the strategic plan. You can look at it through this other lens. But I think it is inherent in the work. I think it's important that you bring it up. But it should be, it's central to the work we do.
I also wanted to mention that testing needs to be done bilingually. I've been told recently, for instance, we have Spanish-speaking students taking SATs, and they have a tutor now maybe sitting next to them periodically or not. But anyway, I would have to take a more specific look at how testing is going and where we do need to improve bilingual testing.
Madam, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Madam. Mr. President, members of the committee, now I think I'm in front of the legislature. It's time for me to go home. It's my bedtime. And you laugh. It really is probably my bedtime. We are constrained, and I'm looking over at Ms. Beata Thorensen, of how many years students can take tests in their home language. And it goes totally against what we know the literature tells us about proficiency. And as the content gets more difficult, the more you move up the grades, right? It becomes the language becomes more complex. I don't know if you want to address that now, Mr. President. What's your preference? We can talk about it another time. Ms. Thorensen is standing up. It's up to you.
What is the preference of the board?
I would say we're veering into some pretty big questions here. We also have certain mandates from the state about what tests were allowed, and given how long we've been here, I would say, I guess it would be my preference, Mr. President, if we can stay focused on budget priorities as I think I'll have to count whether this is my 9th or 10th budget. I think it would be 9. But ultimately, you know, as we get to the numbers, there's surprisingly little wiggle room in terms of, I can have 3 mics and none of them work. In terms of the spending, I would agree with Dr. Garcia. I mean, certainly we can express the importance of literacy and math. You know, again, the data is complicated in some ways. We are often compared against the state, and when we're 50th, it's the state. So, you know, I would ask that we look at our individual district data when we talk about it that way as well, because, you know, ultimately, I mean, maybe this district can lift the state out of 50th on its own, but you know, there's a lot to all of this. So, you know, those values, I think, are important to express. And
Do we have a megaphone?
and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 microphones right here. No, 5. So ultimately, I guess the budget priority conversation, I think, you know, is, I assume that proficiency in our core subjects, and that our budget is geared to education and to student outcomes and excellence, and generally, and I don't know, you know, if we've sort of skipped ahead too much in the budget conversation, but as we think about what we have in the list is factors that we think affect that, I would say. And so in the narrow realm where we have a little bit of leeway as to direct the superintendent for the budget, the exercise is prioritizing what we, as the governing body of the schools, want to say, you know, and hence, I mean, for me, I think the social emotional piece is really critical as something that needs to be addressed in order to drive student proficiency in learning and outcomes. So I guess rather than getting into sort of all of these aspects, I'm hoping we can stick to the budget priorities.
And, you know, Madam, Mr. President, and on that point, I think that we forget to look at the data in a disaggregated way. We have curriculum and standards that we teach. And depending on the zip code in this city, we are the farm club for the private schools. And in our elementary schools, we have students that are at 60, 70, 80% proficiency. What we have an issue and a challenge, but where we're seeing growth from this district, as I've looked at the data, is with schools that are traditionally ELL, low income, that are making amazing gains. And what are you doing there? And they're growing at greater rates than our high income schools, who are still, you know, I mean, and of course you have regression to the mean, and you know, we can talk about all those statistics. But we are making tremendous progress. And so we have to look at, this is where equity comes in, and strategies, and how do we put the efforts to continue the acceleration that this district is seeing and outperforming other districts across the state in working with low-income ELL students. And it gets overlooked in the aggregate, right, of where we're at. Because, you know, if you have run-of-the-mill kids that have, you know, higher incomes and families that have the wherewithal to be engaged because they're not struggling to put food on the table, you know, those teachers are doing the same content as other parts of our city. And so we got to look at those schools that are making those gains, and yours is one of them, that is doing tremendous work. Yeah. And so we need to replicate those pieces. Yeah. I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest.
Okay, next steps as far as the budget.
Well, Mr. President, I also want to ask you, I'm assuming that employee insurance premiums, it's just a given. We're always probably going to do that with the increases. That has been a priority for many, many years.
That one got complicated in the last 2 years because of, and the bills passed, and I'm not going to get I think Mr. Exner is probably the one who knows this best of what different proportions we have to cover and that sort of
Will you guys maybe
thing.
guide me on that, because I'm not, and I'll work
I mean,
with
I think
Robert and
we'd
staff.
look to Howard and the team there, because that got
weird.
different in the past 2
Okay.
years. Yeah.
All right.
Well, and I would just, to add to that, I think the most important thing when it comes to insurance premium increases is that we don't want our teachers in a year they get a raise to be taking home less pay.
Yep. Correct. And we have continued generosity, but the math has been done differently.
All right. Continue generosity, I'll note that.
Okay, Dr. Garcia, what else do you need from the board as far as the budget?
I think this is okay, and we'll get to more of that when we do advanced planning.
Okay, great. All right, then let's talk about our superintendent search and where we are with that.
And Mr. President, I gave a synopsis of that during my update. And we're doing more in-depth background checking, social media footprints, more, usually people give you their references. We are looking also at references that people don't give, right? Especially as we look at communities and unknown quantities and whatnot. We've engaged our security team in that process. And so I think you're going to get a very in-depth picture of who these candidates are. And right now, it's looking like the greater proportion is coming from out of state. Okay. With that being said, I guess I would be best, I think, to just maybe jockey on over when you're ready to advanced planning, which will involve dates both for the board, for budget meetings and the search. So if you'd like, we can jump into that, or whatever
Right,
your
well,
preference
and
is.
before that, there's nothing that is prohibiting this board from slowing down the process. I think
No.
we've heard a lot that we're rushing it, we're moving quickly, but I think the fact that we have, quite frankly, so many applicants, I was shocked when I heard that there was 20, possibly more, and it hasn't closed yet. I think before I would feel comfortable saying slow down or stop, I would like more information about the applicants that we do have, and so I would like to continue down the timeline that we've discussed. At least that's, again, because like I said, with that many applicants, I would understand if it's been open and we only have one or two, and it's, we got to go further, we got to find this, as it's been suggested, this firm to search for us. We seem to be doing pretty good as far as the number of applications we've attracted so far. So that's just, my response to some of the comments I've heard, not only this evening, but throughout, phone calls I've received or emails I've gotten about the superintendent search and how important it is, which I agree it's very important. But again, I was encouraged to hear that we had so many applicants, and so many, quite frankly, from out of state and out of the district. So I don't know.
President Abeyta, thank you. I think that's a really, really good point. I think it's been a very robust process and very expansive. It might not have taken a long time, but the sheer volume of applicants, and we haven't looked at them yet. So I think for me, I feel comfortable staying on this timeline, and also committing to the community that if somehow out of that 40, we don't think we find the perfect person for our district, that we wouldn't pick someone because we feel like we have to make a decision. That seems like a very good selection pool and very promising, but I don't think that we have any sort of intention of picking a warm body that isn't the perfect leader for our district. Thank you.
Our student board member has a comment on this.
Thank you. I know it's late, I'll be brief. I just wanted to say I met with a member of the search team over spring break. We had an hour-long conversation. It was really productive. And I just want to emphasize again, I think the importance of including that student voice. I think it's already being done, but I just want to reemphasize that. We both were surprised by how much I come up with that they hadn't thought about, and how much she jogged in my mind that led to new thoughts we had, and things that were important to me that were overlooked by the other people, the adults that had been spoken to. So I just wanted to emphasize that, the importance of that, and how hard it can be to get the student voice, but I think it's worth making the effort. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. Vice President Noble.
I appreciate the conversation, and it sounds like we're all on the same page. I attended, in part, a session on this at the National School Board Conference, and I on superintendent searches, and I attended one at the recent New Mexico School Boards Conference. In much the same way that Board Member Heffron found it validating that we're doing that, we are doing all of the best practices in a superintendent search, and I appreciate Dr. Garcia's guidance in this. She is often someone who is hired to run searches for districts, and as we talked about, we get her as a little bit of a twofer in this. And I agree that we don't need necessarily to stick to this schedule. There's no reason we can't slow down. On the other hand, I also am aware that we have another week for applications to come in. We've had a lot of good publicity because the best outreach is often in the press, and I appreciate that, and we'll see what kind of applicants we get in. So I'm with you, President Obeta. I very much want to see who we get. I guess I would say I want us to think about, when we brought on the last superintendent, we did a one-year contract, which is sort of the same as doing an interim. And I want us to think about how we hold this, because there is also an opportunity cost to keeping the district in the place of uncertainty of hiring, and I've seen that in a lot of ways play out previously. I think even we've seen some things happen in the district since Dr. Garcia stepped up. So, there's two sides of all of this. I appreciate that we have set a schedule that will require a lot of work, and I appreciate this board's willingness to roll up sleeves. It's going to take a lot of hours with that many applicants. I think we need to do the work. There is a timing to school years. People who are good superintendents are not sitting out most of the time. They are working. Our timing could be a little sooner and have taken a little longer, but I'm proud that we, I think, have mostly hit the mainstream timing of when superintendents are, no, I'm talking too much, of when superintendents are looking for it. And, I appreciate Board Member Boze's call for perfection, the perfect person. I guess I don't believe in that. I think that that's why we have a team, but I do think, I am committed, I believe we are all committed to getting the right person for this district, and I think we can do both things. I think we can go forward, we can look at who we get, we can hope for the best, we can remain flexible, we absolutely need to look for excellence in the leadership of the district. And, so I think our schedule's fine. And I would just ask that we remain nimble, flexible, and that we, consider the larger impacts to the district, because I do think that uncertainty, especially right now, for many, many reasons, is a very large risk that we need to keep in our minds. That's all.
Dr. Garcia.
Would you like me to talk about the advanced planning and how it all fits together with budget and superintendent search?
Yes.
Okay, so as we look at advanced planning here, we are scheduled for a study session on the 17th. Because both Mr. Martinez, Robert Martinez, and Beverly Aguilar, who is at the conference, believe that the 910B5 is not even going to be ready even next week or finalized till maybe even Wednesday or Thursday. I don't like to come to the board with scenarios of hysteria. Then the sky is falling, because right now, if we were to look at it and just do the math, I would say, okay, we're going to be short about $3 million. Well, that may not be. We don't know, right? Until we really look at how all these factors shake out, because it's all based on our students, and there's some that are shifting, and they may actually shift to our benefit. So I'm recommending that we not have a study session on the 17th. We have a regular board meeting on the 24th. We have a need for executive to discuss pending litigation and 2 property issues. I am recommending that we have one the board meeting with the consent agenda for finance, and after speaking to one of the vice president here about the finance presentations, that we do a 1 hour, where status, where we are with the budget, so you have time to process it, because otherwise we would be coming to you without one more bite at the apple, coming to you with a budget to approve or a budget with some options. So that gives us time to process what you're thinking, for us to share with you more definitive information. This also would allow for you, I know there's complications with some board members to be able to do the 25th. And I did speak to Dr. Gonzalez, who is okay with the 24th, that you do a short board meeting with the exec and the budget stuff only. We dispense with everything else. And then you can decide if you want to start early or what time you want to start. We will have a matrix and the application packets, and those that met minimum qualifications and those that are met preferred. Can slice it and dice it in a number of ways. We'll have all the background information for you, and you can then go through those and vet them. We will have done initial vetting so that, that will ease the process for you in terms of qualifications and whatnot. So sometime in there, you would do that. I just want to...
So an earlier meeting on the 24th.
Yes, you just need to decide what time and how you will want to arrange that. I just want to go on to say that we would then bring the budget to you on the 8th. And heaven forbid we had major problems and we could go to the 15th. But that would really stress out the staff to get everything uploaded, because it's due on May 28th. Now the rest here with candidate forum and finalists, interviews, that's all how you want to proceed with that. But we're recommending that on the 24th, it's a 1 agenda item or 2, consent, budget presentation, exec. You all pick that day to review your applications and decide when and how you want to do it.
Board Member Jose.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I'm just a little bit, I'm not quite caught up, probably because my brain's tired. I think I'm following on the 24th, which is 2 weeks from today, the executive session, a quick consent agenda, and then a budget update. But we're also talking about looking at the candidate packets, which I thought we were going to do on that Friday. Are we talking about doing them all together?
Yeah, I think we're talking about all of us not being able to make it on the Friday, so trying to put it into the meeting on the 24th and
Okay.
maybe starting the 24th earlier to.
Yeah,
To do
way
that.
early. I mean, we were talking about meeting at 8 a.m. on the 25th. So I don't want to be doing that important work in the evening.
Vice President Noble.
Thank you. So, let's see. I was going to say on the 24th, you know, just to pick a number, I would suggest a meeting maybe starting at 3 p.m. My suggestion would be that we do a quick budget update and consent agenda first, and then go into the candidate review.
When would you do exec, though? Because you've got to.
Yeah, that's, sorry.
So
Then we would go into our
the legal and
executive.
the property, and then you would go into your thing.
Right, because it's all executive session. But basically, I'm saying we usually do executive sessions first, and then our action items and presentations. I'm saying let's flip that. Let's do the presentations and action items first, and then go into our executive session, let people go on with their lives while we stay late into the night. And then, you know, if we want to have the 25th as well, I think Board Member Heffron is traveling that day, so we have some trouble. So I'd try to do it on the 24th, where really we're reviewing candidate packets and probably selecting who to interview, and doing a first cut there. And I guess my question is, I know it's a tough turnaround. We're partly also looking at the turnaround from the 17th. But I guess I'm wondering if we could even look at packets ahead of time, because if we come in cold to that meeting, we'll be slower.
Or look at what's coming so far.
Well, they're still doing the background checks, the reference checks. I'm going to defer, I don't think Jeanetta's here. Mr. Exner, can you talk to that, of being able to get packets before the 24th? I think they're going to be in really good shape for you to be able to discern. You're not going to be looking at them from scratch. You know, you're going to have a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of vetting there for you.
President Abeta, members of the board, Superintendent Garcia. If I understand correctly, you would like to start looking at packets on the 17th, 1 week from today, correct?
No, they were asking if they could have them before the 24th.
I'm sure we could. What date would you like those ready?
Well, and I think there's a sort of reasonableness question, because the position, if I'm not mistaken, closes on the 17th.
Right.
So then there needs to be a reasonable amount of time for anyone who's sent their application in at the wire for you all to do the background check work and vetting that you do. You know, personally, I'm perfectly happy, you know, the night before would give me a head start. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the 23rd.
That wouldn't be a problem at all.
I will let Jeanette know what you said.
And then maybe also we could leave in our, depending on how things go, I know we have to notice the meetings, but maybe we'll have an idea of how many applicants and how many packets, and we can sort of talk individually with Dr. Garcia about if we might need more time. Like, I'm fine to go until 8 o'clock on that Thursday night, but if it's more than that, we're not doing our best work at that time, especially if we've been going since 3. So maybe we do leave a couple hours to come in on Friday morning if needed, and still so that Board Member Heffron can leave, you know, if we do 8 to 10 or, you know, something like that.
And Mr. President, if I may, I was just checking with Josh. They can recess and pick up again the next day, right, if it's noticed that way? Yeah, so you could, if you had needed to come back out and recess and then go back into exec early in the morning, you can.
Or we could just notice 2 meetings, but yeah.
You don't have to.
just want to leave a cushion.
Get 50 applicants.
Right. 60.
Okay, so do we think we have, so we're gonna get the packets possibly the 23rd. And we'll start on the 24th and see how far we get.
And you're starting at 2? Is that what you decided?
I thought we said 3.
Oh, at 3.
Should we say 3?
I'm available whenever.
3.
3, okay.
And then I think maybe you said there was something about a housing proposal. I think we can put that off to a later date.
Well, it's an exec, it probably won't take very long, but you do have the one for Turquoise Trail. I think you can just give me direction. I don't think it's going to take more than 5 minutes.
Okay,
And then we have the pending litigation.
right. Okay, so the 24th, 3 p.m. we'll start, and if we need to continue the next day, then we think we can do that. Okay. And nothing next week except audit committee.
So, Mr. President, the 23rd, we'll probably just have them delivered to you, or if you can pick them up, we'll work it out. But if we need to deliver them to you, we can do that. Probably close of business on the, let's put by when, by noon, Howard, on the 23rd?
Okay. Okay, and then I think based on that, we can talk about how we want to move forward with interviews and those dates.
And I would imagine that Howard or Jeanette, or both of them will staff you, because I will not be staffing you for that part of it.
Staffing and feeding, hopefully.
Well, we already planned for feeding,
Okay.
for both, for the meeting.
Okay, and then the 8th is when we'll try to do the budget meeting, and then that gives us another week in case we have to
Right,
continue that.
so we'll do an update on the 24th, and then I'll bring you, Mr. President, members of the board, a budget, hopefully to approve, with maybe some options if need be.
On the
That
8th.
you pick from various menus to make it balanced, but, we have to have a balanced budget, and you've made it very clear what your priorities are, so I appreciate that.
Okay, anything else from the board?
Mr. President, I would imagine that in your executive, and Howard, if you're staffing them, that you can look at, your interview and kind of decide what time you're going to start your meeting so that we can, we need 72 hours, right? So can they pick on that day, they can decide what time so we can notice when they're meeting again to do candidate interview and finalist forum?
Have to get the notice out by noon, probably on Friday, which is what we used to do when we had Tuesday meetings.
Right, is the 25th, the interview is the 29th, I don't know what day of the week that is.
Tuesday.
Yeah, so you'll have to do it by that Friday.
We'll have to make a decision on
Right,
Thursday.
right.
if we're doing
But
it.
just make sure that is taken care of when they're in exec on the 24th,
Right.
Howard.
Yeah, and Vice President Noble just stated too, we could always notice, and if we need to, cancel. But
Oh, okay. So I just need times.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else before we adjourn?
Have another 2 hours for you.
Well, with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can definitely walk and chew gum at the same time, but I don't know.
Dios mío.
Supposed to have a meeting with him on Friday.